And you know, with the gluttony of all that's grown through the years, well, those people don't want to be rendered useless because they got a heck of a ride.
Oh yeah. So it's interesting, and I just don't know where it goes from here. Because I'm glad, like I've said multiple times, I'm glad that it's happening. But it's going to be very tricky, and you've brought up multiple things I didn't even think about or consider when kind of thinking about this.
But it's pure garbage to do your customer like that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, no question about it. I just it's going to be tricky. I mean, Brett, we had the Clippers. And I've brought them up a couple of times because they're the main team that really has rested guys the last couple of years. We have the Clippers who come out and said last year, basically they don't really care about the regular season, that it's all about the playoffs. And pick a side.
Well, their playoff record looks like they don't care about it either.
Yeah, it's not something to sing home about. But I mean, when you have teams like that, it seems like they have made a stand that we like this idea. We think it works as long as our guys are healthy. It's going to work for us in the playoffs. Now, like you said, you look at that playoff record; it's a little shaky. When you look at a team like that, I would be very surprised if they rest their guys less than twice this year.
And yesterday we were talking about, I think a lot of coaches after 1 week in the NFL maybe will value a little more preseason next year. Got a great text from someone that said the person that cares the least about preseason may have had the biggest win in week 1, and that was Sean McVay and the Rams. And that's a great point.
That is a good point.
The person that texted me that, I appreciate that because it is a really good point. Sean McVay, I mean, it's almost. I mean, you almost think the Rams may not show for an exhibition game.
Yeah.
He can't stand it. It just means nothing to him. They look great week 1.
You're right. That's a really good point. So I don't know. I mean, it's going to be because I think every coach obviously has their different ideas about preseason, but like I said yesterday, it really seemed this year, with all of the changes over the last couple of years to preseason, now playing only 3 games, it just seemed like every team, except for a couple here and there, had pretty much decided we're not playing our starters. And now it seems like some of the coaches are turning back on that and saying, well, actually, we need to play our starters. And so I'm really curious to see if more coaches jump on that bandwagon of thinking and come out and publicly say it. And when we get to preseason next year, if it actually happens or if it's all talk right now. So we'll just have to wait and see. But go ahead.
I'm sorry, and 40-0 covered up any maybe frailty, shortcoming of Dak. This week against that Jet defense, we're going to see if maybe Dak needed a little more preseason run. And Nick Sirianni saying no doubt Jalen Hurts plays more next summer.
That's a really good point because you're right. I mean, as good as the Cowboys look, Dak Prescott looked a little rusty, and so maybe week 2, what does he look like? That's a great point by you, Brett. But let me set up today's show before we get to top and not top story of the day. At 3:30, Matt Wyatt from the Mississippi State Football Network.
Speaking of Dak.
Yeah, speaking of Dak, we're going to talk some State as they've got a big game this weekend against LSU, so we'll talk all things Mississippi State football in our next segment. 3:45, we'll get into some baseball as, football has really kind of It's really blinded us. I mean, there's a lot of football to go around, but still some very compelling series, some compelling wild card races in Major League Baseball. So we'll get to all of that at the end of this hour. 4 o'clock, David Cohn, the co-host of Crane and Company, will join us to talk some college football. 4:30, we'll get into some NFL and college football, some games this weekend, some gambling lines that have stood out to us because, personally, me, and I heard last Wednesday when I was out, UNJ Morgan talked a lot about some of these gambling lines, and not just from a gambling standpoint, but kind of what we should expect because of these lines and how they're set by Vegas, because Vegas knows a lot. I mean, they know what they're talking about when they put out these lines.
They're really big fans.
They are. So so I think you learn a lot, and you can take a lot from these lines when you start previewing some of these games over the weekend. So we'll get into that about 4:30. 4:45, big number of the day. 5 o'clock, Greg Gaston, who usually joins us on Thursday afternoons, obviously because the Tigers are facing Navy tomorrow night. Greg will not be able to join us in his regular spot on Thursday, so we're going to move him to 5 o'clock this afternoon, so we'll talk Tigers at 5 o'clock with Greg Gaston. 5:30, we'll get to what's trending, and at 5:45, we'll wrap up today's show like we always do with Taco Bell. Crunch time. I should remind you, we're sitting in the Family Leisure Studios where family and fun come together. The world's biggest spa sale. It's back and bigger than ever. 50 different models to choose from, 5 different manufacturers, up to 30% off in-stock spas and swim spas. Free upgrades on all in-stock spas, and the 24-month same-ass cash. It's still available, so head over to Family Leisure, 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40.
He's Bryant Dacus. I'm Brett Norsworthy, and Jay Morgan Hart, our producer. He's out today. We miss him. We hope he's back with us tomorrow, this hour of our show. Brought to you every day by Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Great offers on all 2023 models, and the 2024s on the way, and always special leasing options. Call them at 901-334-9673. Drive in luxury and confidence, knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Stop by Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of the all-new 2023 flagship LS500. You'll be driving in style. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and that makes for the luxury driving experience. The highest standards in the industry at Lexus of Memphis. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
Well, my top story of the day, obviously, Aaron Rodgers blocked out, talking about things blocking out the sun, Aaron Rodgers blocked out the sun yesterday all across the nation. He was the number one topic on television, on radios, on social media. Everybody was talking about Aaron Rodgers, and head coach Robert Saleh was one of them. He talked a lot to the media. Yet between yesterday and today, there's been a lot of quotes that have come out from Robert Saleh. Yesterday, he said Zach Wilson is our number one quarterback, that he's heard all the noise that they need to go out and get a number one quarterback, bring in a new quarterback, whether it be free agency or trade. But he says that right now it's Zach Wilson's job, that he thinks he's done enough in the offseason to show that he's capable of running this offense while Aaron Rodgers is not available to play. But I also saw this from Robert Saleh earlier today. He said he'd be shocked if Aaron Rodgers is done after the Achilles injury. He really thinks that there's still more left in the tank. I know we talked a little bit. We got some text messages yesterday pointing out the fact that, because we were talking a lot about, this is probably it for him. After that injury, it's hard to come back from an injury like that, especially at the age. We got some text messages yesterday pointing out that, hey, he's under contract, not just for this year, but also next year. I mean, we're almost saying, what are y'all talking about? He has another year. Obviously, for Aaron Rodgers, that can all be worked out. If this is his last year.
If he can play, he has another year. If he can play,
he has another year. I'm still questioning it. I just don't know if I see Aaron Rodgers coming back after an injury like that. Yes, if he is able to, if he can get healthy enough, he will be back. I just don't know if he can get to that point. I don't know if he wants to get to that point.
We don't know if he physically can.
Exactly.
So texture says he's got another year. Yeah. He could have another 15 years on a contract, and if you can't go, you can't go. If you don't want to go, he won't go. Yes, he could come back next year. I hope he does. Mm-hmm. Hope he does for Jets fans. But that rehab from all to I'm sorry I didn't say this yesterday. I loved it Monday night when Shefty reporting live from kind of the locker room area.
Yeah.
When he assured the nation, now I haven't examined him. Shefty, we didn't expect you to.
Thanks,
you
Schefter.
didn't go to med school. You didn't dedicate yourself to orthopedic training. You didn't go through a residence. You wouldn't know how to begin to examine him.
Brett, that is one of my favorite things whenever, like, my dad's watching, like, the national news or, like, a game or something like that, and a reporter will say something, and then they'll go back and emphasize what they're saying by saying something like they'll make it, like, very generic.
Well,
like,
I'm not an epidemiologist.
Yeah, or, like, something like that. Or they'll be like for the Aaron Rodgers, like, somebody will be like, well, and a certain star player had an injury last night. I'm talking about Aaron Rodgers. No, we know who you're talking about. We know what you're talking about. We didn't expect you to go in there. And I love pointing it out when it happens because it's so funny to me. But you're right. I like Robert Saleh's optimism that his quarterback, I'm sure he wants it. Brett, I brought it up yesterday. I'll bring it up again today. I think Robert Saleh is a good coach. I think he knows how to get guys going. He's great during games. I think he's great bringing a team together in the NFL. But when you watched Hard Knocks, it was almost like he was a cheerleader around Aaron Rodgers, which I would be too. I mean, how can you not watch Aaron Rodgers and not be amazed? But that's one thing I saw.
You got a Rolls Royce.
Exactly. And that's one thing I saw about people who would tweet and post things about Hard Knocks is like, man, Robert Saleh is more like a cheerleader right now instead of a head coach. So I know for him it was very emotional not to have a player like that, but I'm glad he's optimistic.
I loved it during COVID when somebody on Twitter or text, wherever, well, you're not a doctor. I'm betting you're not one either.
No, you're not a doctor either.
My top story, on Saturday, some big SEC tests once again. You got Kansas State at Mizzou, BYU at Arkansas, and Ole Miss hosting the Ramblin' Wreck in Oxford. The SEC needs a 3-0 weekend, or more doubts about the heft of this league this year will continue. We know the past, but right now matters right now.
Yeah, it sure does. It definitely does.
Not top story of the day.
Well, my not top story of the day, it's a short week for the Tigers. They host Navy tomorrow night at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. And while I think a lot of the conversation should be about the Tigers 2-0 taking care of business with a game tomorrow night against Navy, unfortunately, all of the conversation on Twitter has turned into a Tigers versus Grizzlies argument. Half of Twitter, Memphis, it seems like, says the Grizzlies should get every single penny of the money that they need from the state of Tennessee, while the other half is saying, no, you need to make the Tigers a priority in this. They should get all the money. They should get most of the money in this. And really, I had to get off Twitter this morning. I don't really post on Twitter, but I'm on it a lot reading stuff, and I just had enough. But between everyone arguing about who should get the money, how it should be distributed, it was awful to read. I mean, this has divided us. I loved what Laird Veach, we talked about it yesterday, what he came out and said of, I hate this narrative that is starting, and maybe that's what fueled this argument of people saying it has to be one or the other. He thinks that there's ways that the university and the Grizzlies can get enough money, find ways to get more money so that both sides can be happy. I think that's a great idea, and I think as a city we have got to stop arguing about which side deserves the money more, because it's not getting us anywhere.
My not top story, a big, gigantic yawn on the ESPN.com PED story. It really shouldn't even be a not top story. We've digested. We lived through the PEDs. Everybody knows about it. We mostly don't care. Even with PEDs, you still have to perform. If it was all PED driven, I don't know that he ever did one or not. I'm using him as an example. If he did, how come Mark Grudzielanek wasn't better than Barry Bonds?
Good point.
How come Woody Williams wasn't better than Roger Clemens? Big, gigantic yawn.
Yeah, I agree with that. I haven't seen the story, but good Lord, I am the exact same way as you are. But that'll do it for top and not top story of the day. Let's go ahead and get to a break. When we come back, we'll talk Mississippi State football with Matt Wyatt. That's next.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11 here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
A cold shower is no way to start your day. Purchase a new water heater from the pros at Conway Services, and you may be eligible for up to $2,000 in federal tax credits. Call 384-3511 to schedule your appointment. Visit conwayservices.com for details, terms, and conditions. License number 64210, 64365 EAS, MS 19688.
Call 384-3511. Conway Services. Call Conway today.
Chris Price here with Metro Builders. Is your roof leaking? Do you have mold stains on the ceiling of your home or business? Is your carrier denying your claim or offering a repair because they just don't have enough documentation? You need a contractor that performs work for insurance carriers each and every day, and Metro Builders is here to assist. This is why you call Metro Builders. At Metro Builders, we provide free estimates and consultation and love to assist homeowners with their claims. Metro Builders' process of arriving, inspecting, and diagnosing problems is second to none. Our team of Hague-certified technicians are standing by to assist you with providing estimates and photos to your carrier to document your loss. And the best part of all you owe is what your policy states. No large fees on top of the final scope. We use high-grade materials and are certified by companies like Atlas, Certainteed, Owens Corning, and even Mulehide. We offer best-in-class warranties on all of our jobs, up to 50 years. When it comes to roofs and restoration, call Metro Builders to schedule your free inspection. Call me. 901-375-1717. That's 901-375-1717.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. 120,000 miles of night drives, daily commutes, and who knows how many.
Are we there yet?
Through countless fixes, elbow grease, and a new radiator, you kept your ride alive. With eBay Motors, you have over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company, we have it all. From handmade Amish leather belts, fine and casual clothing, boots, casual boots, work boots, fancy boots, and even safety-toed boots. Lots of cowboy hats to choose from, even Nebo lights, good-looking duck head dress shirts, duck head caps, shorts, and pants. Tons of jeans from Ariat, Wrangler, Devil Dog, and Kimes Ranch jeans. At Hewlett & Dunn, we have a great selection of Old South t-shirts and caps. Fine clothing from dress to casual to Sunday best. Enjoy choosing from UFO's orthopedic-approved shoes. Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company. Boots of every size, every color, every skin. Great quality Western, work, and safety toe boots. Hewlett & Dunn Boots and Clothing Company. 111 North Center Street, Collierville. Hewlett & Dunn. Hewlett & Dunn, serving you and your family since 1961.
Ole Miss Rebel Yell is back. The Rebel Yell Hotline Radio Show is back on WHBQ Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Every Monday night at 6, hear the latest news on your Ole Miss Rebels with Yancey Porter with 24/7 Sports, former Ole Miss defensive tackle Mike Fitzsimmons, Gordon Ford covering SEC Sports Call, and former Ole Miss baseball announcer Gary Darby. From kickoff to free throw to extra innings, your Ole Miss sports on the Rebel Yell Hotline Show right here Monday night at 6 on Sports 56, 560 AM and 98.5 FM, your Mid-South sports station.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, Brett Stats Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you. We're sitting in the Family Leisure Studios, and joining us now to talk some Mississippi State football, Matt Wyatt joins us now from the Mississippi State Football Network. Matt, thanks so much for joining us. And through 2 games, Mississippi State about to start conference play against LSU. But what have you thought about Zach Arnett through 2 games since being promoted to head coach after the tragic passing in the offseason of Mike Leach? What have you thought about the job he's done through 2 games so far?
Yeah, and thanks for having me, guys. Good to talk to you. I think, so far you find a way to be 2-0, and I guess he's actually, 3-0 if you include the bowl game. Right. So he was the head coach in that one. But, yeah, so this year 2-0, it's hard to be better than that. Now, we can certainly get into the nuance and the minutia, but so far so good. I think that's one, advantage for the program is that, yes, it's a coaching change that you didn't plan on, no one did, that you're kind of forced to go through. But by virtue of the fact that he was your defensive coordinator, you don't have to transition on that side of the ball. You're only transitioning on one side. And those of us who've been around for, coaching turnover where you bring in a whole new staff on both sides, you know how that goes. It's a much different process. And so really the focus has been, to see what this offense is. And that does go back to Arnett also, because he made the decision not to keep the previous air raid staff together, to break that up and bring new staff in and transition it back to a more typical zone spread type of offense that runs the ball more. And the early returns on that are they got a ways to go. They've got work to do, certainly on offense. But defensively, they've been good and they're veteran. And like you say, they've found a way to be 2-0, which so far so good.
No doubt, Matt. And 2-0, it's 2-0, and 2-0 in overtime against the Arizona team that I don't know the rest of the year that State faces a quarterback in the SEC better than what they see in practice and better what they saw last Saturday night for the Wildcats.
I tell you, man, that Jaden DeLaura from Arizona, he's instant. He is instant excitement. I know that much. And the turnover issues that he had against Mississippi State last year, he obviously had them again this year, and that's a big reason why State won the game. Because outside of that, they outplayed State, and it is an improved team. I don't know how many games they're going to win I was looking at their schedule yesterday, Brett, and realized that at least as of today, just about everybody left on their schedule in their conference certainly is ranked right now. They got a bunch of these ranked teams ahead of them. But, again, I think they're a much better team and improved than what they were a year ago. They've got 2 offensive tackles that are going to play in the NFL. And what Arizona did was they went and added, I think it's 7 or 8 transfers just in their defensive front. So you're talking about D linemen and linebackers. So they looked a lot bigger this year on defense than they did a year ago, and that was sort of their sore spot. So they're a better team, and State, I kind of feel like, back to really the original question too, Brett, as a coaching staff, they learned that no matter the situation in any ball game, offensively, you can never take the approach of, hey, let's run some clock. If you're playing offense, man, your foot is on the pedal. You are driving, trying to score. And I feel like, that was a situation last week where Zach admitted after the game, here's a defensive coach. You're up 14-zip. Your defense was on the field for a drive at the end of the first quarter that was 19 plays, and he tells the offensive staff, hey, stay on the field a little bit here, eat some clock. Well, that's a defensive approach. You can't do that on offense, and I think they all learned that last week.
Yeah, I think it shocked you when Neil said 19 plays. You went, oh wow!
I could not believe it. I knew it had been a while, but you think about it, Brett. You can watch a lot of football games and not see a 19-play possession.
You may not have that many offensive plays in a half.
Yeah,
in a half, especially with the new clock rules, right? And that was at the end of the first quarter, while the defense had been on the field a lot anyway because they kept turning them over, right? You had, two turnovers on the previous possessions in the first quarter. So it's like you turn it over, the offense scores quickly, you're right back out there. So they spent the entire first quarter on the field. And I understand Coach Arnett in the heat of the game saying to his staff, hey, look, man, our defense needs a breather. Do what you can do. Mm-hmm. But when you have a first-year offensive coordinator, he hears that. He's taking that to heart. My boss told me we got to stay on the field. So you get conservative offensively. You may tighten up, and it'll backfire on you if you're not careful.
Well, I think you've brought up a couple of things, but over the weekend after that game against Arizona, some of my friends, some people I follow on Twitter, I saw them kind of talking about this as kind of an ugly win, that they weren't super excited about how the win happened against Arizona. So for you kind of going into conference play, what are some things that you want to see this team improve on as this week against LSU and they get into this conference slate?
Well, I think the reality answer is there are lots of things they better improve on quick.
Yeah.
Particularly on the offensive side of the ball. And, again, it's not like they, have had major issues. You hadn't turned the ball over in 2 games. You've been really efficient. You got the number one rusher. Well, it's 2 games, 2 non-conference games, but you got the number one rusher individually in the league right now. And Woody Marks, who's a really good player, and you knew he was going to get a chance to show that this year. In terms of, they've had a low number of pass attempts in 2 games, but in terms of touchdowns to pass attempts ratio, they're right there at the top of the league. So there's been some efficiency, and there's been some good things. There were some good things, especially running the ball against Arizona. It's just that y'all know this. Arizona is not LSU.
Right.
And for all we know, they may not even be South Carolina in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And so the challenge picks up a notch. And so everything you're doing based on your identity and what your approach is has to be better. It has to be more consistent. You can't miss a little block on 3rd and 1 and still fall forward for a first down. LSU stops you if you miss a block. So the margin for error tightens up. I think the hope is that they got 2 games under their belt with a very veteran team, that these guys will go out, be better, and figure out a way to win. Defensively, I tell you, it's a really good defensive football team. They are deep at every position. They are loaded at linebacker and led by linebacker. And they got a lot of depth. So, it's a pretty doggone salty defensive bunch.
Matt White, our guest. He's the analyst on Mississippi State football, and he's on Twitter X at Radio White, and we're glad to have him. And he also hosts a very popular statewide daily talk show across the state of Mississippi. Matt, I think the best quarterback in the SEC is Will Rogers. I took the defense up of him at SEC Media Days. Is he appreciated enough? Is he appreciated on campus? Is he appreciated in Starkville?
That's a really fair question. We were talking about that today, Brett, how, really in a lot of places around the country, it's like people have a certain amount of fatigue if they watch the same guy start at quarterback over a period of time, almost like coaches, but whether it's fair or not. But yes, so number one, I know one place that he's appreciated, and that's in that offensive coordinator's office. When you're a first-year offensive coordinator in, the SEC, and you walk into a situation where you got a fourth-year starter, Will Rogers, who is totally comfortable checking plays on the line of scrimmage, and he's watching more film than you are and all that. Like, he's a blessing for Kevin Barbay and OC. And I know he's appreciated in the locker room, too. What I came away, the game was odd and weird the other night. They only ran 56 offensive plays, which is minuscule compared to what most people do nowadays, just the way the game went with all the turnovers from Arizona. But so he didn't have very many pass attempts. He threw it 17 times. They tried it 2 more times, or 2 sacks, so we'll give him credit for calling 19 passes in that 56 plays. But to me, I just kind of felt like, Brett, if you're gonna say Will Rogers is my guy, okay, given his history and what he's done in a previous air raid system, then you got to have a plan around him that utilizes his ability to throw the football just a little bit more, right? And I think, if you listen, I think your coaching staff even sort of admitted that after the game. But again, appreciate it. He's the kind of guy Will is who, he doesn't
should be
whine and complain and pout. He just figure out a way, and they let you throw a screen, and you get it in the end zone in overtime. That's just kind of who he is. So I think the run pass will balance out a little bit more for him. And when that happens, he's going to be successful. I think you're right. You know what kind of player he is. And so there'll be a little bit more appreciation for what he can do.
Matt, I was surprised in the offseason to see Mike Wright's decision to transfer from Vanderbilt and end up signing with Mississippi State. And we've seen him used in Week 1, almost ran for 100 yards. Didn't see as much of him last week against Arizona. How do you expect him to be used in conference play?
I actually expect him to continue to be used, a good bit in spots. And as a change of pace, he'll be a part of the game plan every week when he's healthy, and he is healthy. He's one of the faster players on your football team. The guy can absolutely fly, right?
Yeah.
And so they're going to look for ways to use it. And it was interesting because right away, he goes out there, he breaks off several long runs in that first game against Selah, and Arizona watches the film. Well, and I wondered this, and it happened. Every time he was on the field the other night against Arizona, that defense was disciplined to give him a read that forced him to give the ball. They were like, look, when he's in a game, and whether he's reading a, first play side inside linebacker or whether it's reading the edge on his own read, you give him a give read. We want other people running the ball, not him. We don't want the ball in his hands. And so they sort of dictated to him because you're calling plays that way. So then the challenge is using him in SEC play beginning this week against LSU. What do you design for him? What do you call that gives them an opportunity to get out in space and run? And so it may change your play calling, and that's what you're paying these coaches to do, right? Paying them, quarter, half, $750,000 to coach. Go figure
Quality
out what
control gets
$800,000. I'm telling you, right? And that's what
people we don't even know what they're doing make $600,000, Matt.
Yeah, some of them making that much, and they don't even put their picture in the program. They just got a name down there at the bottom line, So
yeah,
that's it. You got to figure out how to use them. And I think Mike knew what he was getting into when he came to State, and it was it may not be the starter, but you're a change of pace. The thing is, he doesn't have any pass attempts yet.
Yeah.
And so if he throws one this weekend, it'll be the first one.
Wow. Yeah.
They're saving it for LSU.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, Matt, thanks so much for joining us. This was a lot of fun to catch up with you. And enjoy
Always
the game
is.
this weekend.
Hey, I really appreciate it, guys. And Brett, great to hear your voice, man. Stay in touch.
I will, Matt. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you. All right.
Matt Wyatt, an analyst on the Mississippi State Football Network, like Brett said, also hosts a show down in Mississippi, joining us to talk about the Bulldogs with a big game this weekend against LSU. I know after that Week 1 loss, LSU is really focused and ready for the next couple of games. Well, let's get to a break, and when we come back, we'll talk some baseball.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Step up your wings game at East Coast Wings & Grill. With 60 wing flavors and 7 heat indexes, do you have what it takes to turn the heat on your wings up to insanity? East Coast Wings & Grill is family-friendly with a large variety menu to satisfy the whole bunch. Sign up today for their loyalty program and taste the rewards. For every $1 you spend, you collect a point. Earn 100 points and receive a $5 reward. Next to Lowe's off Highway 64 in Bartlett, come try America's best wings at East Coast Wings & Grill.
Start your day the right way at La Palapa with the biggest, baddest breakfast burrito around. Chorizo, cheese, rice, beans, and eggs served with fresh salsa, and it's served all day. La Palapa has daily lunch specials, all served with rice and beans, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Try a torta, breaded chicken, steak, chorizo, or ham served with mayo, avocado, lettuce, tomato, and jalapenos, all in a hoagie. Plus amazing soups and dinner entrees, all at La Palapa, 5255 Summer Avenue. La Palapa, the little hut with big taste.
Looking for your next car? Give Car Corner a try. Car Corner, located at 2653 Mount Moriah. They specialize in cars under $15,000. Bad credit? No problem at Car Corner. CarCornerMemphis.com. That's CarCornerMemphis.com. They even have cash cars under $7,000. That's Car Corner at 2653 Mount Moriah. CarCornerMemphis.com. Look for the building with the teal green roof.
Jenkins Floors and More in Hernando is growing. This family business started up 5 years ago with just one pallet, and now they have hundreds. Tim, the owner, gets calls from people everywhere and can sometimes save them up to 50% on wood flooring, carpet, tile, and vinyl. Jenkins Floors and More helps with renovations, home building, and installation. Jenkins Floors and More, number 6 East Commerce Street in Hernando. Also in Little Rock and coming soon to Tennessee. Call 662-469-9350 for more information.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, Brett Stats Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you, and we got to talk some baseball. We've talked a lot of football, but Major League Baseball still rolling along. There's a lot of interesting things going on. Brett, we got a 199th win last night for Adam Wainwright against the Orioles. What'd you tell me yesterday, Brett? I think this was off air when you said I think the Cardinals have to go 18-0 the rest of the way just to finish 500. Hey, mark one of those off. 17-0. I believe, Brett. I believe.
One down. 17 to go just to finish 500, but for Adam Wainwright, a real Cardinal all-time favorite.
Absolutely.
And before the season started, I thought he would get to second in most wins. I think second's a player from way back. I can't even recall his name. But we know who one is. Sure. It's Bob Gibson at 251. He wasn't getting there.
No.
And he's not even going to get to second now. But he's going to have 3 cracks at 200, and I sure hope he gets there because just nobody's ever been in the community and represented a franchise better than Adam Wainwright. And, for me to go back to seeing him here after that big, really he was the kind of the centerpiece, really steel side of it for the Cardinals in that deal, and started at AutoZone Park, and now here he is in the twilight of a great career. But we're going to see him for the next 30 years as one of the great analysts that will ever be in the game, any game, in any sport.
Absolutely. Well, I just looked it up.
Prattville, Alabama, for Matt White's hometown. It just came to my old brain.
You're absolutely right.
That's it. I was telling you to break. He was from a football factory town.
That's
Prattville
exactly right.
is.
I just looked up the Cardinals wins. Jesse Haynes is second with 210.
That's it.
So he's at 210.
Give me years for OGS.
Let's see.
I'm gonna think maybe even the 20s, pre-Gas House.
You would be correct. Started with St. Louis in 1920. His first year was with Cincinnati in 1918. Was a Cardinal from 1920 to 1937. A long career.
Oh, he got in the Gas House. He was part of the Gas House gang. He was part of the first World Series winner in 26 then.
Yeah, he sure was. Let's see what he did in 26.
Shout out Jesse.
Wow, 25 complete games in 1927.
There aren't that many in the sport now.
No. So that's incredible. 6 shutouts.
There's not that in the sport.
That's hilarious to look at. That's great. I'm so glad. He was 24-10 that year in 1927. So
there's a
little Jesse Haynes for you, in case anybody out there was curious. No, but we do have some day baseball going on right now. Some day baseball that really is impactful for some of these teams.
Sure is.
Cubs and
all these games go and factor in.
Absolutely, all of them. And it really right now we're at a time, and maybe it's just this year in baseball. Probably is just this year in baseball. It really seems like most games in a day. I mean, you could go up and down from the first game of the day to the last game of the night. Somehow, some way, that game is impactful to postseason play. And I was watching a lot of them last night. But right now, Cubs and Rockies. Rockies up 5-3 over the Cubs. And that's Cubs team still trying to fight for a wild card spot. Same thing for the Mariners and Angels right now. Angels up 1-0. They hit a solo home run in the top of the third. But for the Mariners, they got to string together some wins. Got to win last night because that AL West is very, very competitive, except the Astros, Brett, kind of took the foot off the gas these last 2 nights against the Athletics. Back-to-back losses. They need to keep that pedal to the metal.
Those games have to be sharp. If you're running into Oakland or Kansas City in that West, you've got to win those games. I think Kansas City won last night too, didn't they?
I think they did. Let me make sure before we proclaim
how many nights?
Let's see.
No. They lost. I'm sorry. They lost.
Well, no, they played 2 games yesterday, so they had a doubleheader against the White Sox. They split. They won 11-10 and then lost 6-2. So a win yesterday for the Royals. But
how many days this year Oakland and Kansas City winning on the same day?
It's very, very a few and far between. Maybe the only one, honestly. But no, I remember this time last year. I think it was John Harden who on his show, maybe I forgot who brought it up.
I know that guy.
I do know that guy. I'm honored to say I know that guy. But I can't remember if it was him or Jay Morgan that brought up the idea of, look, we need to start betting on these any team that's like minus 250 or more, maybe minus 300 or more, we've got to bet the underdog in those games. That very rarely are those teams winning these games down the stretch because a lot of them, they see Oakland Athletics, they see Kansas City Royals, they see Chicago White Sox this year, they see St. Louis Cardinals this year, and they go, oh, we can walk in and walk out and win that game without even breaking a sweat. And so you're seeing a lot of big underdogs win these games, but for teams like the Astros that are in a very tight competitive race for the AL West, I mean, you've got to stay focused and locked in because right behind you, the Rangers and the Mariners, even though they've struggled the past couple of weeks, they're right there behind you trying to get that AL West.
Do you want to put this the harder principle to practice tonight?
For is there a particular game?
Houston minus 278 over the aforementioned Oakland Athletics.
Brett, I would say I'm all in, but man, there is no. I mean, please disagree with me if you don't agree with me, but there's no way the Astros get swept by the Athletics. There's just no way.
I can't see it.
I can't see it, but
I know this. You can just bet a little and lose a whole lot at minus 278.
Oh, that's a good point. I mean, the price tag looks good. I know that, but I don't know. And then we just got news in the last couple of minutes. Max Scherzer for the Rangers, he's going to be out for the rest of the season. Was pulled last night during his start in a game I believe they also lost last night, but he was pulled from his start. No, they ended up winning 6-3, but and he picked up the win. But after the game, he got some MRIs earlier this morning. He's going to be out for the season. For that Rangers team, Brett, I mean, you were very high on him at the beginning of the year. I think for good reason. They're really struggling, and at this point, it's going to be a challenge for them to just make the wild card. I'm afraid.
Oh, big-headed Bruce Bochy's done a good job all year, but he's got to get them to the finish line. Mm-hmm. And right up there with the quote that is attributed around sports to Cornbread Maxwell about Father Time remains undefeated. I'm going to go to Shannon Sharp from yesterday morning, Hot Take TV. Old folks get hurt. Max Scherzer's old for baseball.
He is. And I think that brings up a lot of people want to bring up if you're the Rangers or the Mets, why are you paying these old pitchers? You brought in DeGrom to the Rangers.
Wiley vet.
Yeah, now I would take a chance on these guys if I'm the Rangers. Same thing with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, an older guy, you never know what's going to happen. Scherzer is at the top of his game coming into this season, really before he got traded.
But the Rangers dealt for him to do something for them in October. He's not going to go to the mound now.
But Brett, you can't, when you're making a trade like that, I mean, you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, you have to make that trade, don't you, if you're the Rangers?
But that amortization schedule matters.
True. No, that's very true.
Like with Aaron Rodgers. Look, the Jets still make that deal. Mm-hmm. I think the Rangers still make the deal for Scherzer. Yeah. The Verlander deal still gets made by Houston. But then when they have to scratch, there's a reason why.
No, you're absolutely right. So I mean, there's a risk in it for sure. And it's just unfortunate for the Rangers. When you started the season, all of this young talent, and then you think that you've got DeGrom in there, you've got Scherzer coming in there, that you're going to be set for this season, and just having both those guys injured, it's rough.
I know the Cub fans in our area, and there are many.
Oh yeah,
and I'm friends with a lot of them. They don't need me offering up advice. Cubs need to quit messing around, though.
They got to. There's a lot of teams that you could say that about, not just the Cubs. I mean, there are some teams that are really in a tricky situation right now, and they need to turn it on and need to remember where they are.
Big win for the Rays today.
Big win.
5-4 Rays.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. So it's going to be an interesting day of baseball, an interesting week of baseball, as we still try to figure out who makes the wild card, who makes that late season push for a spot in the playoffs. But that'll do it for our first hour. Let's get to a break. When we come back, we'll talk college football with David Cohn.
You or someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com.
Angie's List is now Angie, and we've heard a lot of theories about why.
I thought it was an eco move. Fewer words, less paper.
No, it was so you could say it faster.
No, it's to be more iconic.
Must be a tech thing.
But those aren't quite right. It's because now you can compare upfront prices, book a service instantly, and even get your project handled from start to finish.
Sounds easy.
It is, and it makes us so much more than just a list. Get started at Angie.com. That's ANGI, or to download the app today.
Welcome to Triumph Auto Sales, where you'll have a great car buying experience. Triumph Auto Sales is your #1 source of quality pre-owned vehicles, ranging from lease returns to new car trades, all at huge savings. Plus, Triumph has a full array of financing options to meet your needs. Find your next car online at triumphautosales.com or stop in today at 4875 Elmore Road. Triumph Auto Sales will help you get the vehicle you want at the price you need and the service you deserve. For a great car and a great experience from a local and family-owned business, visit Triumph Auto Sales.
NFL Sunday Ticket is now on YouTube and YouTube TV, which means that it just got easier to be an NFL fan, even if you live far away. Like maybe you like the Bears, but you're hibernating in Panthers territory. But with NFL Sunday Ticket, your out-of-market team is never more than a short distance away, specifically the distance from you to your remote control. NFL Sunday Ticket, now on YouTube and YouTube TV. Go to youtube.com/NFLST to get $50 off.
Terms and embargoes apply. Offer ends 9/19. No refund. Subscription auto renews.
The Crazy Coop, America's premier wing destination, has 27 delicious flavors to choose from and counting. Like the Buffalo Ranch, a perfect combo of ranch seasoning with a little kick. Mango Habanero, sweet taste of mango followed by the heat. Or Sweet Maple Bourbon, the taste will remind you of chicken and waffles. And that's just 3 of the amazing 27 chicken wing seasonings that you can get at the Crazy Coop in Bartlett at 7199 Stage Road. And now open the Crazy Coop Express at 1315 Ridgeway off Poplar. Some like it hot. How about the Crazy Sweet Lemon Pepper Hot or Crazy Suicide? Can't take the heat? Get the 4-cheese roasted garlic or barbecue bacon bourbon. Ask about the $9.99 lunch special. Now those are some crazy good prices. The Crazy Coop, 2 locations, 7199 Highway 64 between Applin and Kirby Whitten and 1315 Ridgeway off Poplar. Family owned and operated, The Crazy Coop, America's premier wing destination.
If you need glass replaced, there's only one name you need to know. Binswanger Glass, the largest full-service glass company in the U.S. They've been an industry leader for over 145 years. For all your residential, commercial, or auto glass needs, Binswanger Glass is the name you need to know. 24-hour emergency service for all commercial customers, plus a nationwide warranty on all professionally installed glass. Visit Binswanger Glass in Midtown at 340 South Hollywood across from the Liberty Bowl. Visit binswingerglass.com. Binswanger Glass.
We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations. College Football Talk as David Cohn, the co-host of Crane & Company with Jake Crane, joins Bryant, Brett, and Jay Morgan, a college quarterback at Michigan, a tall man that's on Twitter at David Adam Cohn. Here's David with Bryant, Brett, and Jay Morgan.
Let's get right into it. David Cohn joins us from Crane & Company to talk some college football. David, thanks so much for joining us again. And let's get into some of these games happened over week 2. I thought it was a fun week of college football. And let's start with Texas and Alabama, the primetime game on ESPN. I know a lot of people are talking about Texas, some people proclaiming that they're back after the win against Alabama. But on the other side, for Alabama, what are some things that jumped out? I know a lot of people are talking about the quarterback play, but what are some things that jumped out at you with that Alabama team that really worried you as they get ready to start SEC play?
Yeah, well, thanks so much for having me back, guys. I really love that intro. What a great win for Steve Sarkisian to come into Tuscaloosa. I mean, this is a place where he revitalized his career. I don't remember any big signature wins for Steve Sarkisian as a head coach with his time at USC and Washington. And here at Texas, I said this is a defining year. This will prove whether or not Steve Sarkisian is a great head coach or whether he's just a great coordinator, and there's no shame in that either. So what a great win. And you asked me what surprised me. 0 sacks from Alabama's defense, I think, would surprise me. I mean, my co-host Blaine Crane said it well. Quinn Ewers' jersey looked as clean at the end of the game as it did at the beginning of the game. And I still thought Alabama's defense was flying around. I mean, if you turn the visuals of that game off and just listen to it in the first quarter and a half or 2 quarters, like they were flying around. Both of these teams were hitting. And, from the quarterback play, when we talk about Jalen Milroe, yeah, look, it's one thing, like he's going to be the most athletic guy on every field he steps on, right? But that's not enough. And we see this a lot of times at the quarterback position. We saw it earlier in the day when Jeff Sims was playing for Nebraska against Colorado. It's like, yes, I understand at any moment you can take off for an 80-yard touchdown. At any moment you can throw the ball 70 yards in the air and look like a Greek god doing it. But sometimes winning the highlight reel, right, 4 or 5 plays that just make everyone's jaw drop, is not as good and is not worth 3.5 quarters of mistakes and turnovers. And, he turned the ball over at inopportune times, and he's still going to look really great against a lot of teams. And everything Alabama wants is still out in front of them. I mean, when you look at Alabama, Texas A&M, and LSU, 3 SEC West teams, all with a loss now, but all of those losses are out of conference. So Alabama's going to beat a lot of people. I don't think you're going to see a change at quarterback this week or necessarily any time, or else you would have seen it throughout that game. But I think we just have to look at Texas and say, hey, this is a good football team. This is a good football team. Steve Sarkisian not only got the roster right, but he came in and got the culture right, and this is a signature win.
David, one of the keys in radio is having great co-hosts, and you said that Blaine said that about his jersey. My co-host, Bryant Dacus, that you're talking to, said the same thing Monday. He said the jersey didn't
think alike.
Didn't have a grass stain on it, maybe except for a little perspiration. The equipment guys, they didn't have to send that through the big wash machine. But that loss was different for Alabama. It was different than kick six. It was different than a loss to LSU. It was different than the 2 losses to Ole Miss with Hugh Freeze. It was different than the Kirby Georgia loss, the one. It was different than losing to Urban Meyer in Ohio State. That one felt different. I've talked to Alabama people this week that are not prone to be reactionary. They're rattled.
Yeah, and another thing is the penalties too. You asked me what surprises me. I thought after last year when we saw how penalized Alabama was in that specific game against Texas in Austin, 15 penalties, you say, okay, well, it's on the road in a hostile environment, whatever, maybe you brush it off. But then penalized heavily at Tennessee, penalized throughout the season. And I just thought for sure you were going to see an Alabama team this year just overly disciplined. They still had double-digit penalties in this game, and they were more penalized than Texas was. That surprises me. That combined with the turnovers, combined with not getting to the quarterback, all of these things, in aggregate, are what I kind of look at, and I'm scratching my head and thinking, what is going on here? And I know everyone wants to pile on and jump on Alabama just because that's what happens when you've been on top for so long, right? I mean, in the time span since Texas' last 10-win season, 2009, Alabama's had double-digit win seasons every single season since then. So, of course, people are going to want to jump on, pile on. I even saw some crazy thing my wife sent me where there's a petition to get Nick Saban fired. I mean, some people don't know how good they have it, But wow. Look, if there's anybody I would want in charge to fix things, it would be Nick Saban. And it's a lot easier to fix things in the middle of a season when you have a lot of 4- and 5-star players out there running around and your personnel is right. It's not the same for, say, a team like Boston College to fix things in the middle of the season. So, look, don't be surprised at all if Alabama still figures out a way to win the SEC West and go to Atlanta in December.
David, we were talking yesterday about some just kind of observations we had after week 2 in college football, and one of my observations was I think this USC offense is better than they were last year. I mean, you look at some of the weapons they've brought in. This freshman Zachary Branch that they have has been unbelievable. When you look around college football, who do you think has the best offense in college football?
That's a really good question. I mean, look, Lincoln Riley is always a safe bet when you start talking about offenses. That it's the defensive side of the football that really, I start to worry about when we're talking about USC. But I was even watching some play breakdowns of USC today. 10 times they ran this zone slip play that they do, where Caleb Williams can really just put that defensive end that he's reading in a bind. Yeah. And look. They're running this against competition that they know they're going to beat. They're setting this up to run mesh rail off that and a lot of wheel routes and all this kind of stuff that they need when they play the Washingtons and the Utah of the world. So Lincoln Riley's always going to have a great offense. I think Steve Sarkisian, I broke down a play today that he dialed up. It was this ping combination post in that really puts a dagger in Alabama. So they're always going to be up there. I was a little surprised to see we had talked about Ole Miss and Tulane last week. I was a little surprised not to see Ole Miss sort of impose their will against Tulane a little more, especially with Tulane with a backup quarterback. And they came out and got things started early. I mean, Lane Kiffin's always going to be dialing up the best plays. And I have to say, I really love this offense that Michigan has been running. I really love this run-first mentality. Let's just really beat you up, and we're going to win off a lot of play action. They're sort of starting to do more stuff spatially because J.J. McCarthy can use his legs. And the step that he's taken from last year, the arm strength growth is incredible to me. Now, I don't think J.J. McCarthy will necessarily win the Heisman Trophy this year. I don't think he's going to get those kind of opportunities just because they do run the ball so much. But still, those are some offenses I'm looking around the country. And obviously, Michael Penix Jr. at Washington. I mean, the kid's going to throw for 400 yards every single game. When he throws a football, it's just a thing of beauty.
David Cohn, our guest, talking college football. He played at Michigan. You mentioned the Harbaugh offense. David, it's almost like Jim Harbaugh's football influences are his dad, Bo Schembechler, and Mike Ditka with setting that run up for play action. It's almost like he really listened and learned a lot from them.
Yeah, it really is great to see, man. And every week I watch him, there's something new. There's some new little wrinkle that's really cool. And certainly, I mean, Jim Harbaugh is an eccentric guy, and he's a student of the game, and
I
he's
love
always
him.
trying to find ways. I do too. And look, I come from a high school where we ran the wishbone, and it was not the best offense for me as a drop back quarterback, but it was great to play in that so I can experience that type of offense. And then when I went to Michigan, there was a very similar sort of approach to the game in terms of that run-first mentality, especially in the Big Ten and late November when there's snow on the ground. But it was out of a lot of 21 personnel, always a fullback on the field, a lot of two tight ends. And if we got into shotgun, it was rare, and it wasn't what offensive perspective, not only around college football, but the NFL starting to pick up on a lot of this too.
David, please tell me you never, and you didn't then, but please tell me you don't ever even complain or somewhat whine to your father-in-law, Richard Todd, about playing in a wishbone offense and wanting to throw the ball when he had to do that for Coach Bryant and was still drafted by the New York Jets to be a quarterback.
Yeah.
I bet he says, "You cry me a river." Coach Bryant said, "We're running the wishbone. Too bad, son."
No doubt, man. You gotta get Richard on here and tell the story of when Coach Bryant recruited him, and he kind of got set up by one of the assistant coaches as a joke. Told him to ask Coach Bryant, if I come here, are we going to throw the ball more? And Bryant took a puff of that cigarette and looked at him and said, "If you come here, are we going to throw more? Nah, we're going to run the wishbone." And my high school coach who ran the wishbone, he says we were talking about this RPO stuff, and I was having him help me break down a play from a linebacker perspective a couple of weeks ago, and he said RPO, to me that still stands for run people over.
That's great. That's great. David, I'm curious of your thoughts of Tennessee through 2 weeks. I know here we've got a lot of listeners that are Tennessee fans. A lot of people I interact with are big Tennessee fans, and some of them have kind of been worried about this offense, worried about Joe Milton through 2 weeks. It's against Austin Peay and Virginia, so really haven't seen much competition, and they're kind of worried about this offense and what Joe Milton can bring. What have you thought about this Tennessee offense through 2 weeks?
Yeah, that's what we led with on our show today, and we don't have a great sample size just yet because Virginia's just a very bad football team, and Austin Peay, as my other co-host Jay Crane says, if you can't beat one guy, I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, I was looking at that game and saw him start 1 for 8. And again,
now, Austin Peay was a very famous governor of Tennessee.
Good point, very powerful man.
There you go. So Joe Milton, and we got some comments on our show today, like it's directed at me and directed at Jay. Why do you guys hate Joe Milton? Nothing could be further from the truth. This kid's from Pahokee, Florida, where my dad's from, down in Belglade near Lake Okeechobee. He commits to the University of Michigan. He gets named the starter at Michigan, so I was following his career, from the onset. And then Cade McNamara took that job over a couple seasons ago, and Joe Milton remained a great teammate and all that kind of stuff, and he transferred out at the end of the year, goes to Tennessee, gets named the starter there. And then he had some of the same problems and deficiencies that he showed at Michigan. Mostly, everyone talks about what a great deep ball he throws in the strong arm, but it was overthrowing the deep ball mostly that I saw early in his career. So Hendon Hooker takes over that job, and we know the rest. Hendon Hooker is going to be playing on Sundays very soon when he gets healthy. And then Tennessee's offense just started to roll, and you finally got to see what Josh Heupel could do and could be when he had the right guy under center. Well, Hendon Hooker's gone now, and so we're back to Joe Milton. And I think you saw some flashes, right? You always see these flashes with a guy that has his skill set. He's as tall as I am. He can throw the ball at 95 yards, and anybody like that is, again, to the point where we're saying about Jalen Milroe, he's going to make plays and he's going to look really special at times, like in that bowl game that we saw last season. My question is the consistency. Can you do it consistently week in and week out against some of these better SEC teams? And this is the week to me. This is a big week. And I know that this is not the best Florida team that we've ever seen. Okay, I understand that. I don't think Florida's going to have a great year. But I'm just telling you right now, if you don't strap it on tight, when you go down to the swamp, there'll be anybody in the country. And Graham Mertz, look, I watched that Utah game. Graham Mertz didn't lose in that football game. He has a lot of experience. Like, they can beat you in a hurry, especially down in the swamp. So this, to me, is Joe Milton's biggest game right here. I don't want to hear you talking about, beating Georgia or facing Alabama or whoever comes out of the West in the SEC championship game. Like, your only task is this week, right now, going to Florida, playing in the Swamp, play consistently, play within yourself. If he goes down there and he has 300 yards, a couple touchdowns, no interceptions, he throws the ball on time, accurately, then I think that we're going to see Joe Milton be the starter for the rest of the season, and he can start to build some confidence. If they get to him early, if they're, a tipped pick six, something like that, how does the confidence start to shake then when you're down by 3 with a couple minutes left in hostile territory like the Swamp? So I'm really intrigued by that matchup this week.
It's put-up time for Joe Milton. There have been a lot of Tennessee quarterbacks that had to face a lot better Florida teams at the Swamp than he's having to face this week. So it's time. Your alma mater, Michigan. There was a time that we were wondering when Michigan was going to get back. And we're talking about Texas. We're talking about the U. We're talking about FSU of being back. When did you know under Coach Harbaugh that Michigan was back? And they're undoubtedly back. When did you know it?
Honestly, that first year in 2021, the first win against Ohio, I thought was just a tremendous victory because Jim Harbaugh was finally able to get over that hump. And to me, honestly, what it showed you just how great of a football coach Urban Meyer is. And you just have to give it to the man. Urban Meyer can flat out coach football.
Absolutely.
And when he was up there in Columbus, Jim Harbaugh could not crack that code. He could not beat, it was 5 straight seasons, I think. And then you had the COVID year when they didn't play. And, don't get me started on all that. But when Ryan Day took over, and Ryan Day's a heck of a coach. Ryan Day, they almost made the national championship last year. They had Georgia on the ropes, right? So the fact that Jim Harbaugh, I think, he's always taken them seriously. He's a Michigan guy. He wanted to beat them just as much in 2016 as he has these past 2 years. But there is something different now. I think that this is proof. Some of these programs need to give their coaches time. Now, Jim Harbaugh got a little more time than usual just because he is a Michigan son and he played for Bo Schembechler. But as we start to talk about programs like Florida, we just talked about, how quick are they going to be with Billy Napier, who has one of the toughest schedules in the country this year and probably the toughest schedule in the country next season. Some of these coaches need time, and what Jim Harbaugh has been able to do these past couple seasons has been incredible up to the college football playoffs. It's like you can't accomplish anything you want at Michigan. No conference titles, no college football playoff, nothing unless you beat your rival Ohio, because they're always going to be good. They're never going to drop more than one or two games in conference, and you happen to be in their same division. So he's beaten them the last 2 years, and guess what? Then you do win your division 2 years in a row. You do win your conference 2 years in a row. You do make the college football playoff, and now it's December and January time, because I think Jim Harbaugh's 1-6, something like that, in December and January games. Obviously, that's not good enough. He has the quarterback to do it. He has the roster to do it. So it's time to, handle your business throughout the season, and then let's go win the big one if you're Jim Harbaugh.
Does Urban Meyer coach next year? Or does he ever coach again?
I don't know about next year, but I've said since this whole thing happened in Jacksonville, yes, he's going to coach college football again. And everyone thinks that I'm crazy, and I don't have any inside information. I don't know the man personally. I've never met him in person. But to me, it just is he's one of the greatest college football coaches of all time. These guys have big egos. They have a lot of pride. I don't see the man, the 3-time national champion, and 2 more undefeated seasons on top of that, one with the Buckeyes, one with Utah. I don't see him going out getting embarrassed like that on the professional level. I think he's going to coach college again. It's interesting now because some of the places that I know Urban Meyer would say yes to, some of the jobs, they're already locked up. Like, I don't think Marcus Freeman's going anywhere at Notre Dame. I know Urban Meyer would take that job. I don't think, the Nebraska thing was interesting this past offseason, but again, I think Urban Meyer, he's so smart and strategic with these jobs he takes. He wants to go to these recruiting hotbeds, and some of these jobs are locked up. So I don't know about next season, but I think he'll give it one more shot. And keep in mind, he's around the same age. I may be getting this wrong, but I looked this up just a couple months ago when the Auburn job came open. He's around the same age that Nick Saban was when he took the Alabama job. So I think he's gonna give it another shot somewhere.
David, I'm apologize first. I wasn't here last week, so I apologize if this question was asked, if y'all talked about this last week while I was gone. But Riley Leonard for Duke has really impressed me through these first two games. He was impressive last year, but obviously the first game against Clemson was very impressive. And now the second game against Lafayette, 12 for 12 and kind of limited action against that FCS school. What have you thought about him and this Duke program so far, obviously cracking into the top 25 after that Week 1 win? Riley Leonard, very impressive quarterback.
He is an incredible quarterback. He is a gamer. Some of those plays, that one run he made down the sidelines there against Clemson, I was shocked. I had to rewatch it 3 or 4 times in a row. He's going to play at the next level. He's going to be a Sunday guy. And but before that, I think this Duke team can do some serious things. Now, this is not your grandfather's Duke football team, right? Mike Elko knows what he's doing, and last year what they were able to do is no fluke. Now they've come out hot, right? You beat one of the perennially great teams that we've seen here in programs in a Dabo Swinney-led Clemson team. So can Duke win when they're the hunted, right? Not when they're just sneaking up on people. You're going to get, let's see, we broke down that schedule today. You get Florida State on the road, I believe. You guys, if you're at a computer, can fact check me. But I think they get Florida State on the road, and they don't play Miami. So that's very interesting. But, and again, fact check me here, but we had talked about this today. I think Notre Dame comes to Duke. That Notre Dame at Duke game is a lot more interesting now. Riley Leonard and Sam Hartman both facing off. I mean, just think about some of the quarterback matchups Sam Hartman at Notre Dame is going to get this year. He's going to get to face Caleb Williams with USC. He's going to go on the road to Riley Leonard. He's going to that's incredible. So I'm really excited to watch this Duke team. And if there is some sort of sleeper outsider, hey, could any team do what TCU did a season ago and come out of nowhere? Duke is that kind of team that could put something together like that.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely right. That's a great idea.
And I'm calling it now, David. If that lines up and it's the big game that it could be, Notre Dame at Duke, game day, special guest picker, Coach Krzyzewski.
I love that. Wouldn't he be perfect for that? That would be great.
He would. That would be a lot of fun. Now I've got my fingers crossed that happens. That'd be great television.
Hey,
I would love it. Awesome. I like the wide open nature this year feels like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's healthy for college football. It's great for college football. I'd love nothing more like, I want to be right and informative with all my picks and predictions, but you know what I'd rather be when I'm watching college football is entertained. So if my 4 college football playoff teams none of them are in there and it's 4 different ones, while I would be disappointed since I put Michigan in there, it would be very entertaining, and that's very, very healthy for college football, especially at a time when everyone is sort of looking around like, man, is the game getting ruined with conference realignment and transfer portal and name, image, likeness? The product on the field is very healthy. And another one, I'm just telling you, this game tomorrow night, this Navy at Memphis, I'm looking at that because that Seth Hennigan kid, man, he can really play.
He sure can. He sure can. He's a good quarterback. Last thing for you, David. I want to ask you this because a coach that I have been very intrigued with ever since he got hired in the offseason, obviously coming from Michigan to a program like Charlotte, Biff Poggi, now the head coach at Charlotte. He's maybe the most interesting man in all of sports, but I've heard stories about kind of the impact he had at Michigan before taking the head coaching job at Charlotte. What are your thoughts of him as a head coach?
I don't know much about him, honestly. I'm sort of watching from a distance right now because that Charlotte program is one. There's a couple every year that you sort of circle, especially when you're making your picks and your bets and what your sure things are. And for a couple of seasons, that Charlotte program was one where it's like, hey, whoever they're playing, I'm taking the other team, right? And UConn was like that before Jim Mora Jr. got up there. Even UMass now with Don Brown going over there. So when I look down at the score sheet, even on some games that I'm not watching necessarily, and I see Charlotte playing these teams close, like playing Virginia close and other teams, I'm thinking, man, they've gotten something turned around over there. So obviously the guy can coach ball. So I'm going to be watching from a distance and see if some of these guys like him really start to get big-time job offers.
Definitely. Well, David, thanks so much for joining us. This is a segment I look forward to every week, talking college football with you, and we'll do it again next week.
Hey, thanks so much, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks, David.
You got it. Thank you very much, David Cohn. That was just that was so well done. And this time yesterday we were talking with Brent Beard about Coach Bill Battle, and I said, Tennessee were just determined to get Coach Johnny Majors back home. Johnny come marching back home to Tennessee, and I made that comment, and I said he got off to kind of a slow start. Yeah. I don't know that you could do that now. Our friend John Varlas texted me, he says, those first 4 years were ugly, and you would not survive it. Now, I've got it in front of me. First year, 1977, 4-7. Second year, 5-5-1. Okay. Third year, 7-5. Well, okay. Fourth year, 5-6. Billy Napier didn't have a prayer of doing all that, and I don't think many would. But sticking it out with him really worked. But I don't know that you can stick it out now because everybody wants to be in those playoffs starting next year. Another thing I love about this wide open nature, and I love the dynamic that David mentioned of kind of changing the narrative around college football, that it's all about something off the field. Also, going into next year, it's going to give so many people hope for next year. But, if this year had been next year, we'd be in the playoffs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when you look at a team like TCU last year, a team like Duke this year, who obviously TCU made it all the way to that Final Four, and Duke, you never know what could happen this year through ACC play. But when you look at teams like that are starting outside the top 25 and have some good wins, it's just making it that much easier for them to have a shot at getting in the playoffs. And so you get those fan bases, they're now super excited about what could be, obviously with kind of the group of 5 schools getting an opportunity to get in there as well. I think, we talk about this with a lot of sports, of the sport is in a good spot right now. I think with how wide open college football has been this year and with the expanded playoffs, I'm really excited about what the future holds for college football.
Now, one thing that can really rain on that seemingly that 2-week feeling of wide open, we've kind of forgotten about Georgia.
Yeah, but they've kind of made us forget about them with the competition they've been playing.
They're just kind of out there doing their. No, but if they go splatter if they splatter South Carolina, we're going. Okay, sure. That's what they were supposed to do.
Right.
If they don't, well, they're playing in anonymity. Who cares?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is we've forgotten about Georgia, and here in a couple weeks when they're really in the midst of conference play, they're just going to be dominating, and we're all going to go, oh, yeah, well, Georgia's back, or they never left. Why did we forget about them? Why haven't we been talking about them?
But what will they be dominating? Auburn, Kentucky, Vandy, this Florida team.
That's true.
Mizzou.
That's true.
Home game against Ole Miss.
Yeah.
That could set up to be quite interesting, but it's a long time till November 11th.
Yeah, I know you're right. If you dominate those teams, I think there's still some people who are going to say, well, you were supposed to do that. You were supposed to win those games. So it's very interesting. So I don't know. We'll have to, I guess, wait and see. SEC play starts this week for a lot of teams, so that is exciting for sure. But let's get to a break, and when we come back, we'll look at some of the lines for this weekend in college football and the NFL. That's next on Sports Time.
You already know you can listen to Sports 56 anywhere with the Sports 56 app or at sports56whbq.com. But you can also watch us daily with live video of all of our shows on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch.
Your equipment search ends here. Now that's a bold statement. But at Purple Wave Auction, it's true. See for yourself at purplewave.com. Purple Wave is your online marketplace for ag and construction equipment, utility vehicles, trucks and trailers, and yes, even a classic car or two. Bidding is straightforward and simple. No reserves, no minimum bids. Ready to get started? Head to purplewave.com. Purple Wave Auction. Straight, simple, sold.
Howdy folks, Dominic Cunha, General Manager at Sunrise Buick GMC on Covington Pike. Our Western Trading Day sales event is here again. My ranch managers have been instructed to slash prices, so if you're looking for a great deal, don't look any further. New Buicks and GMCs, discounts up to $6,500 and a $12 million used car inventory. The Sunrise Ranch on the Pike is the place to go. Bad credit, bankruptcy, slow pay, that's okay. Here at Sunrise, we specialize in secondary financing and used cars below $69.95. Visit us online at sunriseonthepike.com or in person, 1800 Covington Pike.
Step up your wings game at East Coast Wings and Grill. With 60 wing flavors and 7 heat indexes, do you have what it takes to turn the heat on your wings up to insanity? East Coast Wings and Grill is family friendly with a large variety menu to satisfy the whole bunch. Sign up today for their loyalty program and taste the rewards. For every $1 you spend, you collect a point. Earn 100 points and receive a $5 reward. Next to Lowe's off Highway 64 in Bartlett, come try America's best wings at East Coast Wings and Grill.
Sports and blinds, they just go together. And right now, all Sports 56 listeners get $50 off any order at Blinds Etc. South. Real wood, 3.5 to 4.5 inch plantation shutters made in the Mid-South are always affordable at Blinds Etc. South. And now get $50 off your order. Get your free in-home consultation at 901-681-0225 or go to blindsetcetera.southllc.com. Upgrade your home with custom-made plantation shutters and window treatments from Blinds Etc. South. Listen each and every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. and join Ottawild Presbyterian Church for worship. Ottawild is a PCUSA church located in Midtown Memphis.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you. We're sitting in our family leisure studios where family and fun come together. And the weekend, it'll be here before you know it. Obviously, the Tigers taking on Navy tomorrow night, but we'll have a lot of college football action to start Saturday. And so we want to look through some of these lines going into the weekend in college football and also the NFL. But I do want to start with college football, kind of it's going to be here before NFL, so let's start with that. Kind of looking at some of these SEC lines.
Tigers get it going tomorrow night.
They do. And is the line still at 16? I know that's what it was earlier in the week. 14.
I see 14.
Yeah, so
right now.
I think
and the announce crew coming in for ESPN tomorrow night: Matt Berry, Coach Dan Mullen, and Harry Lyles. Last year, that crew was Matt Berry, Lewis Riddick, and Harry on the sideline. They did the Egg Bowl. And they're going to do the Egg Bowl this year when Dan Mullen is back in Starkville. But I just love Matt Berry. I think he is just one of the stars of the sport. And for me, it all goes back to summer of 2020. I even kissed and made up with Danny Cannell. If you fought for college football that year, I will love you to my last breath.
Yeah, I think that's
– and Matt Berry did.
He sure did. And so that's going to be a good crew on the game tomorrow. But 14 points, I mean, like I said, this originally opened at either 16 or 16.5. I'd have to go and check. But now down to 14. Look, Brett, I'm glad we're not picking this game on Friday. I'm glad this isn't a Saturday game.
It's a tough one.
Because I don't know which way I would go. I mean, I feel like from what Memphis has shown the first 2 weeks, I think if they can come out like they have in those first 2 games, they should cover a 14-point spread against Navy. But conference game against that triple option look, they're going to be running clocks, so you don't, as the Tigers have as much time offensively. So that kind of worries me looking at that 14-point spread.
I'm in the 35-38 range for the Tigers, and I'm in the no more than 17 for Navy.
No,
so
absolutely not.
Even at 35-17, that's past the 14.
That gets you there. So, I mean, I feel good about them covering this line, but
I do too.
I mean, there's a lot of question marks when it comes to playing Navy. Very tricky team. I know Dave Woloshin, while he was with us yesterday, he pointed out that over the last 4 or 5 times the Tigers have played Navy, they've taken care of business, and that triple option look hasn't really bothered them. That this coaching staff has kind of gotten in there. They understand what to expect for Navy. But it always kind of you have that question mark in the back of your head whenever you're playing Navy.
And the continuity and staff important because
Oh, yeah.
those GAs, those analysts, they've got that book. They've got that game plan down. They've got the scout team. We talked about it on Monday with Jonah. They got the scout team ready to go, and it's not anything new. I still would like to know who is imitated being the Navy quarterback because that's important, especially Wishbone, to give us a legit look. And there's a couple of good options for the Tigers. Top 25 starts early Saturday morning, and look at some of these lines. Florida State's 26 at Chestnut Hill against Boston College. Penn State at Champaign-Urbana, they're 14.5. we talked with Matt White, LSU a big favorite in Starkville.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know which one of those 3 games, but one of those 3 games, that big underdog is going to scare that favorite.
Yeah, and like you said, if I had to guess, I'd probably go with Mississippi State and LSU. I mean, I know, and we talked about with Matt White, a lot of my friends who are Mississippi State fans that graduated from Mississippi State fans and are watching all of those games. I got to see part of the game on Saturday. I got to see a lot of it, but I didn't get to see all of it. They were all calling it an ugly win and said that, they were not impressed with what they saw in that game. But for Mississippi State, I think I've been a little surprised with how this team has looked coming out of the gate these first 2 games. So you're almost giving me 10 against LSU. I think that Mississippi State can maybe hang in there. But for Illinois and Penn State, maybe Boston College, I can't. I mean, they have not shown me anything. They were a team kind of keeping up with them in the spring and to start the fall. I was thinking maybe they could do a little bit of something, but I think they've opened the season against Northern Illinois and Holy Cross, lost to Northern Illinois and almost got beat by Holy Cross. They just haven't shown anything. Now 26 is a lot, but this Boston College team just looks really, really bad.
These Saturday point spreads, Notre Dame 34.5 over Central Michigan. The 2:30 win to Central Time. Georgia big over South Carolina 27.5. Bama on the road at South Florida 32. Oregon State, really their first real challenge of the year as they host San Diego State 24.5. OU 27.5 playing at Tulsa, playing on campus at Tulsa. These are all massively big lines.
Incredible. And I think the biggest one that jumps out to me, just the ones that you've kind of gone through, is that Oregon State against San Diego State, because San Diego State has been that kind of group of 5 team that really every year, maybe not making it to that New Year's 6 bowl game, but has been a team that you don't want to play them because they're going to give you a good fight. They've got a great hard-nosed defense. Their offense is usually pretty good. So when I see 24.5 against Oregon State, that's shocking to me.
It is. Tulane, coming off a loss, they're 13-point favorite over Southern Miss game at Hattiesburg. And this is one of the losses last year, regular season for Tulane. Remember, I said it was the box score anomaly of the year last year. Tulane led in rushing, led in passing, had less turnovers, had less penalties, lost the game.
Yeah. So I think they're going to come out there, especially did we ever know the injury to Michael Pratt that held him out on Saturday?
They were really coy about it. I think it's the lower leg later in that game against South Alabama, I think. But he took a lot of hard hits, and they ended up paying a big price, keeping him in that game. So we'll see how he rebounds this week. Saturday in the SEC, we mentioned LSU at State. That's the first game of the day. Kansas State at Mizzou. We talked about K-State, a 5-point favorite. Then Georgia over South Carolina. South Florida over Alabama. A&M. What's the tenor? What's the tone at Kyle Field Saturday?
Oh, I mean, there's going to be a lot of unhappy
Flat
people.
as a pancake.
Flat. So 36. That might be a big number against Monroe.
Sure could be.
But that's kind of the biggest one. This is the first time today was the first time I've really looked at some of these spreads. But some of these games in the SEC, big spreads, especially like you said, I want to point out, go back to the Georgia-South Carolina game. 27 points for Georgia over South Carolina. Some of these lines in SEC play are really surprising to me.
Tennessee, the favorite in the Swamp. Ole Miss, favorite in Oxford. Arkansas, 8-point favorite in Fayetteville over BYU. And I think a lot of people are looking to see if that game stays close. And now, with every passing day, I'm really starting to get worried about Rocket Sanders' knee.
Yeah, no, I completely, I'm with you on that because, that's somebody whenever you talk to an Arkansas reporter or the coaches were talking, it was with KJ Jefferson and Rocket Sanders in that backfield, you might have the best 1-2 punch in the country. And with Rocket Sanders out, I think, we've talked to Ty on the weekends about some of these, the 2 tackles for Arkansas are very young. I think one is a true sophomore. The other is either a redshirt freshman or redshirt sophomore. So very young at the tackles. And, for backup running back coming into the season, that could be hard to really get that run game going for Arkansas. So I hope he's back either this week or next week when they start SEC play. But I'm right there with you. I'm worried about his leg.
Help me with this. Prime Video. That's Amazon, isn't it?
Yeah, that's Amazon. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
That's where the game tomorrow night will be. But, of course, we have it on Sports 56 and 98.5. You want to see some receivers, watch A.J. Brown for the Eagles and Mr. Jefferson for the Vikings.
Yeah, I mean, 6.5, obviously less than a touchdown. So if you think the Eagles can win by a touchdown, you really like this number right now. But after what I saw from the Eagles against who'd they play last week? New England last week. That might be a big number against Minnesota. I mean, I think both these teams kind of came out slow in week 1, but I think this could be a fun game. Now, like you said, it's on Amazon Prime on Amazon Prime, like I said, so it could be hard for some people to watch, but that could be a really good game tomorrow night for Thursday Night Football.
Sunday afternoon, Buffalo, 9.5-point favorite over the Raiders. That's the home opener for the Bills. The Raiders winners last week, 17-16 over Denver. Jags, statement game, and I would say the rare sellout at Jacksonville.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, this is a big game.
Against Kansas City.
Now you got Chris Jones back for Kansas City. I'm sure Travis Kelce will go on Sunday. I don't know if I've heard anything.
KC 3.5-point favorite.
Yeah, so I mean that's a very interesting game because I think Jacksonville really going in the right direction as a franchise. Kansas City kind of stumbling in week 1. That really could be top 1, top 2, maybe 3 games of the weekend in the NFL.
No Detroit Lion expert am I. I'm not an expert on anything, but it's sure not the Detroit Lions. Most anticipated home opener ever?
Got to be. With all the hype, I mean, we've been talking about this hype around this team all offseason. And after you go out and beat the defending champions in not just a week 1 game, the first game of the NFL
plenty
season.
Of rest time. And the big travel for Seattle. 5.5-point favorite, the Lions at noon on Fox. Their favorite over the Seahawks. 3 o'clock window, 3:05 Cardinals, and the Giants. Ooh, man.
Oh, man.
Somebody's got to go because the tickets were printed, don't they?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think the Giants bounce back in a big way after that 40-point loss week 1. I think they come out and 5.5 right now.
Bryant.
I think
do they have
so.
Big bounce back in them?
I mean, I would hope so. After what that team showed last year, you think they've got to have something. But you're right. I mean, when you lose that much, oh, man, it did not look good. Maybe
those quarterback sweeps at 7th grade football. I mean, we ran it in Little League. Heck, with 7th grade. And by 7th grade, we were running crossbucks.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you can blame it on the weather. It was terrible weather in New York that night. But I don't know. I mean, if they're going to bounce back, it's got to be this week against Arizona. I don't know their schedule after this, but I don't know if you have – Arizona has pretty much put out there, hey, we do not want to win. We want that number 1 pick. We're going to do everything in our possibility to tank and lose games.
They're off to a good start.
They are. So, but if you're the Giants, if you're going to have a bounce back in you, it's going to have to be this week against Arizona, I'm afraid.
Your Cowboys favored 9 over the Jets. That wouldn't have been the case with an upright and healthy Aaron Rodgers. That Jet defense is for keeps, though. But so is the Cowboys. What is the over and under on that game? That's one thing we need to keep an eye on. 38. That looks like a preseason game.
It does. And that number terrifies me, Brett, because I think Dallas wins this game, obviously, with everything going on
Don't be scared,
in the Jets.
Don't be scared. Not since you already know the parade route for the
you're right.
Super Bowl championship parade. Don't be scared.
You're absolutely right. I mean, I have it all planned out. I have it all written down. I have this notebook here. People think I keep notes in this notebook. It actually has the parade route in everything we need for the championship celebration in here. So if anybody ever sees me going
down Elm,
I just sometimes I pull it out just to look at it to get me excited for the season and the next game, but because I already know what's going to happen. Hard to get excited for games that you already know you're going to win, but when you throw a spread in there, it gets a little more concerning.
driving in Dallas is like Atlanta. Somehow, some way, you're going to be on Peachtree in Atlanta, and you're going to be on Elm in Dallas.
That's right. No matter which way you try to go, you're going to get there. So, yeah, I'm a little worried about that Cowboys game. And then Sunday night, the Dolphins, a 3-point favorite over the New England Patriots, which I think is that's an interesting number, set at 3 right now.
And I was thinking driving around New Orleans, and I'm not saying I know every turn and every street, but I can broadly get around and always have been able to in New Orleans.
Sure.
For 40 years, I can drive in New Orleans. We did it just fine before all this fancy mapping. I got around fine.
Brett, that is so funny you say that because last week, me and Melinda went to a concert downtown, and I had it in my GPS, and I missed a turn. I missed a turn to get off. To go downtown. I missed a turn, and not the way I usually go. We had to go a different way, and I missed a turn, and I started thinking, it's a shame that technology is so good because people like you, people like my parents, they were able to get everywhere, not just in Memphis, but in other places without their phone giving them the directions. Same with phone numbers. Used to, everybody remember phone numbers. Now nobody knows anybody's phone numbers. It's a shame.
I got lost one time driving in Houston, and I'm not kidding you. I think I stopped at the same gas station 3 different times, and the man felt sorry for me. He thought,
no.
If I had anybody else here, heck, man, I'd drive you.
Oh man, that's
so balled up lost. I was shocked. I finally got out of there, but there were places I could drive just fine in.
Oh yeah.
Before all this.
I believe it. And now people my generation are never going to know how to get places without a GPS, and they're never going to remember a phone number.
You don't have to. That's good.
It's good, but what if your phone's dead? What if something happens? What if you miss a turn and it's on your phone now? Now you're looking at your phone trying to figure out where you went wrong. It's a mess, Brett, and it was a mess trying to get to our concert last week because of technology. But let's get to a break, and when we come back, we'll get to big number of the day.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis in Olive Branch has an offer you can't refuse. They will pay you to do business with them if you want luxury. And I'm talking the Genesis G70 car. If you would love to have that kind of new technology, they will give you a $1,000 rebate when you finance with Genesis Motor Finance. In other words, they'll pay you $1,000 to do business with them, and you get brand new luxury. You can't beat it. That's Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis, right at the corner of Craft Road and Highway 78 in Olive Branch. Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis in Olive Branch, where customer retention is amazing. There's a reason. They take care of you with a team that's been together for a long time. Whether it's finance or whether it's service, you can't beat them. Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis.
We interrupt this broadcast for special news and information concerning family leisure.
The world's biggest spa sale is back and bigger than ever at Family Leisure. How is that possible? Well, let me tell you. You start off with 50 different spa models to choose from 5 different manufacturers. Then you throw in up to 30% off in-stock spas and swim spas. But is that all? Oh, no. You get free upgrades on all in-stock spas, plus 24 months, same as cash. Wow! This is the kind of sale that you just can't have every day, but it's happening right now at Family Leisure, the world's biggest spa sale. Soak in the savings right now at Family Leisure, Witten Road and I-40. You know the place where family and fun come together.
Please remain calm and walk. Don't run to Family Leisure. And now back to your regular programming.
Get ready for the NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use. You can bet on everything from spreads to player props and more. So visit FanDuel.com/win and kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. FanDuel, official partner of the the NFL.
21 plus and present in Tennessee. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call TN Redline 1-800-889-9789. NFL Sunday Ticket offer ends 9/18/23. No refunds. Terms and embargoes apply. $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket, not YouTube TV. YouTube TV base plan required to watch YouTube TV. Redemption requires a Google account and current form of payment. Commercial use excluded. Subscription renews. Cancel anytime.
If you've tried to buy a Rolex watch lately, you know how difficult it is. New models are in rare supply. Some jewelers put you on wait lists. Others make you buy their other jewelry at inflated prices just to be considered for a Rolex purchase. Well, that's all changed now that Genesis Diamonds has arrived. Genesis Diamonds is the premier dealer of luxury pre-owned Rolex timepieces. People who come in are shocked to see Daytonas, Hulks, Submariners, Pepsis, Datejusts, all the hard-to-find Rolex watches ready to wear today. At Genesis, we've used our worldwide connections to find only the first luxury pre-owned Rolexes, immaculate, pristine watches, fairly priced with no strings attached, and with flexible financing options. So enough with the wait list and the retail jeweler games. Get the Rolex of your dreams today at Genesis Diamonds. And if you already have a Rolex and are interested in trading up, we also have Rolex buyers on site every day. Just another example of how we're forever changing the jewelry landscape here. Genesis Diamonds, official jeweler of the Tennessee Titans at Poplar & Perkins Extended.
Cooling or heating system on the fritz? Dripping faucet? Call the pros at Conway Services today and we'll waive the service call fee with any HVAC or plumbing repair. Expert technicians available 7 days a week. Call 384-3511 to schedule your appointment. Visit conwayservices.com for details, terms, and conditions. License number 64210, 64365 EAS, MS 19688.
Call 384-3511. Conway Services. Call Conway today.
Want to play a private country club but only pay daily greens fees? Meadowbrook Country Club in West Memphis is your place. You can now play a beautiful, challenging course for only $59 plus tax, including cards. Meadowbrook Country Club features champion Bermuda greens and now is available to everyone. A membership is only $350 per month and includes tennis, pickleball, and swimming, plus a great restaurant and bar. Golf Pro Mark can even fix you up with custom-made tricks on clubs. Call 870-394-4186 today for your Tuesday through Sunday tee time at Meadowbrook Country Club in West Memphis.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
Big Daddy.
Hello, Big Brand. It's a guy, he wants to be big, then he gets big, he doesn't want to be big anymore, then he gets small, but the suit's too big.
Big Daddy.
The big boy.
You're a big guy. I think she's trying to pull a fast one on Big Daddy.
The big number of the day.
So I'll go first with my big number today. We talked baseball earlier, and so my big number is a baseball big number. My big number is 4. Sure, we'll go with 4. There's a lot of numbers in this big number, so I just got to pick one out. Spencer Strider for the Atlanta Braves has 415 strikeouts in his 48 career MLB starts. He needs at least 4 over the next 2 starts to surpass Dwight Gooden for most Ks in a pitcher's first 50 major league starts in the modern era. Dwight Gooden has 418 right now, so you would need at least 4 in each start to pass him in that, I guess, or more. I guess that's the very least. And when you look at Spencer Strider's game logs, the only time he has gone less than 4 strikeouts in a game was on August 7th against the Pittsburgh Pirates. In his other games, I mean, if you've watched Spencer Strider at all this year, you know he's a strikeout machine. This month alone, 9, 9, 10, 6, 3, 9 were his strikeout numbers. The month before that, it was even higher, 10, 13, 10, 11, 9. So I think it's safe to say Spencer Strider is going to surpass Dwight Gooden's 418 for most MLB strikeouts through 50 games. And, a lot of people really love Spencer Strider and what he's doing. I don't think you can make any arguments, and he's one of the best strikeout pitchers in the game we have right now.
Well, he is, and his stuff right now in the last few years, it has been reminiscent of Gooden 84, 85, 86, when it was just some of the most lights-out stuff ever, and Strider's right there with him. My big number, it's 87. Will Rogers tied for 7th in the SEC history for touchdown passes. He's tied with Tua. He's 1 behind Chris Leak and Tim Tebow, and he's only 2 behind Peyton Manning. Wow. Peyton Manning for 4th.
That's incredible. Brett, why do you think it is that we don't talk?
His size.
Is it?
His size.
Okay.
I think it's 100 because he's not he's not big like Tebow. He's not big statue, perfect, almost perfect quarterback that Peyton Manning was. I think it's because of his size.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I would probably agree with that, but I mean, it just shocks me that we have talked a lot about this Mississippi State team. I continue to think back around SEC media days when we kind of did our division rankings for the SEC. And I think all of us, for good reason, had Mississippi State last in their division just because of everything that had happened. And I think you said it when we did it. You kind of said, we all have Mississippi State. Do we remember who their quarterback is? They've got that same guy at quarterback, and I think he's continuing to show that he is a really, really, really dominant quarterback. And I just think it's a shame that we don't talk about him like we do some of these other great quarterbacks in college football.
And he's got the chance Saturday. That's a game that I think preseason everybody had as a LSU win. This week, the point spread, kind of the conversation. This is a chance for him to maybe change a lot of people's opinion about him, and it's kicking off the college football day Saturday against LSU. The idea of LSU after 3 weeks with 2 losses, nobody had that in the preseason. Nobody.
No, I mean, this is a team that we've been talking about repeat going to the SEC championship. Some people saying that they could even crack the college football playoff this year, and so if they had 2 losses through 3 weeks, that would be insane. And so I'm really excited for that game. Like you said, it's an 11 a.m. kickoff, so I think that's going to be a great game to start our college football Saturday.
I didn't in the preseason of these next 5 weeks for LSU at Starkville against State, home in Baton Rouge against Arkansas, in Oxford against Ole Miss, in Columbia against Mizzou, and home in Baton Rouge against Auburn. I had them 5-0 in that stretch.
Yeah.
They lose one of those.
Absolutely. And maybe not. I mean, maybe Brian Kelly gets in there and really turns them around. But from what I've seen over the last couple of weeks, I think I heard somebody say, I've never seen a team have a more disappointing 60-point win or something like that. It's just with everything around it, even though they won so big, it's kind of the same thing of, well, you really got dominated in that first game against Florida State, and then that second game, you might have put up 60, but it was against an FCS school. I think a lot of people around the country and down in LSU really need to see this team prove it before they can hop kind of back onto that bandwagon that we all seem to jump on before the season.
This week in Starkville.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one, like I said, and like you said, 11 a.m., that's a good one to kick off the college football Saturday. But let's get to a break. When we come back, we'll talk some more college football. We'll talk some Tigers with Greg Gaston.
I'm with John Burgos from the world-famous Rendezvous in the Alley since 1948.
Brett, I want to talk about our seasoning and sauce today. Our sauce is a great blend of sweet, mustard, and vinegar. It's good on so many items other than barbecue. It's good on pizza. People use it in lieu of ketchup. But our seasoning is the original dry rub, created by my father using a mixture of Greek and Cajun spices. People think our sauce and seasoning are good just during the grilling season. Nothing could be further from the truth. It's good year-round. Our seasoning is good on fish, chicken, deviled eggs, corn on the cob, French fries. People even put a dash in a Bloody Mary. To get a complete list of all of our recipes using our products, go to hogsfly.com, click recipes, and you'll see 50 wonderful items and dishes. And Brett, our sauce and seasoning is available at most grocery stores, and if they don't have it, please remind your grocer to stock it. And our slaw is also available at most Kroger stores.
Thank you, John. The Rendezvous, Mr. Charlie Burgos' Rendezvous in the Alley since 1948 and celebrating its 75th year.
Chris Price here with Metro Builders. Is your roof leaking? Do you have mold stains on the ceiling of your home or business? Is your carrier denying your claim or offering a repair because they just don't have enough documentation? You need a contractor that performs work for insurance carriers each and every day, and Metro Builders is here to assist. This is why you call Metro Builders. At Metro Builders, we provide free estimates and consultation and love to assist homeowners with their claims. Metro Builders' process of arriving, inspecting, and diagnosing problems is second to none. Our team of Hague-certified technicians technicians are standing by to assist you with providing estimates and photos to your carrier to document your loss. And the best part of all you owe is what your policy states. No large fees on top of the final scope. We use high-grade materials and are certified by companies like Atlas, CertainTeed, Owens Corning, and even Mulehide. We offer best-in-class warranties on all of our jobs, up to 50 years. When it comes to roofs and restoration, call Metro Builders to schedule your free inspection. Call me. 901-375-1717. That's 901-375-1717.
Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company, we have it all. From handmade Amish leather belts, fine and casual clothing, boots, casual boots, work boots, fancy boots, and even safety-toed boots. Lots of cowboy hats to choose from, even Nebo lights, good-looking duck head dress shirts, duck head caps, shorts, and pants. Tons of jeans from Ariat, Wrangler, Devil Dog, and Kimes Ranch jeans. At Hewlett & Dunn, we have a great selection of Old South t-shirts and caps. Fine clothing from dress to casual to Sunday best. Enjoy choosing from UFO's orthopedic-approved shoes. Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company. Boots of every size, every color, every skin. Great quality Western, work, and safety toe boots. Hewlett & Dunn Boots and Clothing Company. 111 North Center Street, Collierville. Hewlett & Dunn. Hewlett & Dunn, serving you and your family since 1961.
Did you know nearly 40% of men under 40 and over 75% of men over the age of 40 experience sexual performance concerns? At the Memphis Men's Clinic, their experienced physician performs a comprehensive evaluation that determines which specific issues may interfere with your sexual performance. These issues can vary and range from anxiety to medical issues, low testosterone, or erectile dysfunction. The Memphis Men's Clinic has evaluated hundreds of men of all ages over the years and reestablished a normal sexual life. The Memphis Men's Clinic will work aggressively to resolve issues and allow you to restore your sexual health and overall well-being. That's the Memphis way. If you're 20 years old or 90 years old, come and get cared for the Memphis way. Treatment that's based on your specific needs after a professional clinical evaluation by their experienced board-certified physician. Call the Memphis Men's Clinic today at 901-443-0475 or visit memphismensclinic.com.
You or someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com.
It doesn't matter if you're at the lake, if you're hunting, fishing, playing golf, or just playing around, Scooters Plus can hook you up with the mobility that you need. Scooters Plus has the largest vehicle and parts inventory in the Mid-South and the best service department. You can choose from ATVs, UTVs, golf carts, motorcycles, dirt bikes, trikes, scooters, and even electric bikes. Come in today to start or wrap up your holiday shopping with 25% down on Christmas layaways. Scooters Plus, 3425 Summer Avenue. Call Sam at 458-8843 or go online to scootersplus.us.
We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations.
From the Tigers sideline, it's Tigers Talk with Memphis broadcasting legend Greg Gaston. Hear Greg weekday mornings on Sports 56 Mornings, along with Eli Savoy from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. On Twitter X at Greg_Gaston. Here's Greg with Bryant, Brett, and Jay Morgan.
Well, let's get into some Tiger talk with Greg Gaston. You can hear him during all the games on the Tiger sideline. You can also hear him in the mornings on Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli. Greg, thanks so much for joining us. A short week for the Tigers after big wins convincing wins, I should say, over Arkansas State and Bethune-Cookman. What was your biggest takeaway in that Week 2 victory over Arkansas State?
Well, good afternoon, gentlemen. Thanks again for having me on a day earlier than usual, but obviously with the game tomorrow night, so fired up for a midweek game to kind of get the college football slate started. But, yeah, I was impressed what they did in Jonesboro. I thought, personally, they would have a little bit tougher time with Arkansas State looking at the past history. It's been a pretty good rivalry. There have been really close games, especially in Jonesboro. So I thought that maybe it would be tougher. It was not. The Tigers dominated. The defense looks to be real. I understand who they played through the first 2 weeks, but they look to be a really formidable defensive team. Offensively, I thought Seth was better than game one. I thought the passing game was good. The running game, not as much. They really need to get that clicking. But overall, a really good performance. And now 2-0 going into this Navy game.
Greg, Coach Nick Saban said this week about his team's loss to Texas that was not the final exam. It was not even a midterm. It was an early test in the semester, and they failed. This is the toughest test so far for the Tigers, isn't it?
Right, and it is a process, right, Brad? For every team,
it really
it's a process as the season goes along, and you hope to get better and better.
It's a dance.
It's a dance.
It's a big unfolding dance.
It's a slow dance. That's what it is. Not one of those fast dances. That's the end of the prom slow dance. But, yeah, look, you play Navy, you're playing a team that their offense just presents a lot of problems. And when Navy is clicking and they're moving the ball, they're taking a lot of time off the clock, and it's frustrating for offenses. If you turn the ball over, you have a lot less possessions than you would normally get playing a team like Navy. Yeah, absolutely. And if you punt, you feel like you've given up the chance, if you don't score points, to take a lead early. And that's what you want to do. You want to get Navy down early because it's hard for them to play catch-up ball. They're not a quick strike offense. They play the triple option. Now, again, if you don't do your job, if you're not committed to what you're supposed to do defensively, they can burn you. This has happened at times. But over the last 4 times they've played, Memphis has won all 4 times. They have really done a great job defensively. Last year they were able to pass the ball at will against them. Look, Keenan Reynolds is not walking through that door, and when Navy has a quarterback like a Keenan Reynolds, and they've had a couple of those guys throughout their history, then it's a different ball game. The guy they have throwing the ball, running the ball, and mainly running, but I say throwing because he did throw the ball 10 times last week, is a guy who's a very intelligent leader, but not a guy that has the breakaway speed, not the guy that has the biggest arm. So you're not as fearful of him offensively than you would be a guy like Keenan Reynolds, who was a star and had a cup of coffee in the National Football League. So really it's about you. And for Memphis, it's about making sure they execute when they have those opportunities offensively. Do not turn the ball over. As long as you're not turning the ball over, you have a great chance to win, to move to 3-0. And if you win the turnover battle, I can almost guarantee you're winning the game.
And, Greg, you can sense it when you play any of the service academies. And even other teams that are kind of methodical with an offensive plan. If you're turning it over, if you're punting, it's almost that feeling of serve being broken in tennis. You know it's sitting in the stands. They broke in serve, and they kind of have the advantage.
Yeah, that's a great point, kind of comparing it to tennis and breaking serve. I just got back from coaches' meetings. We did our coaches' meetings today, and talking with Matt Barnes and Ryan Silverfield, Matt Barnes being the defensive coordinator, they talked about putting their defensive, and I guess what they were going to do offensively as well, but basically their defensive game plan together in the spring. They had 5 practices, basically an entire week of working on Navy. As Matt Barnes said, he has a pit in his stomach. He literally said, I'd rather play Alabama than play Navy. They put a pit in my stomach. I can't sleep thinking about this team. If you don't do your job, if you don't stay in your lanes, how they can burn you. And so they practiced in the spring. Then they had several practices in camp in August to prepare for Navy. Navy, on the flip side, after getting beaten up pretty badly by Notre Dame in Dublin, they used some of their practice time getting ready for an overmatched Wagner team, an FCS team, to prepare for Memphis. So these are teams that are quite wary of each other. They're quite concerned about each other for different reasons. Obviously, Memphis facing the triple option, which they only see now once a year, and for other teams, they never see it. And then for Navy, knowing that Memphis has the athletes. They can out-athlete Navy, and they got to figure out a way to bottle them up offensively to stay in this game.
Well, Greg, you talk about the run game against Arkansas State. last week, and I heard a lot of people on social media and friends of mine that had the same sentiment of you of kind of a little concerning that run game over the weekend. But when you look at the carries, Blake Watson goes out and gets 20 carries. Sutton Smith only gets 5. I remember last week we were talking a lot about this potential duo brewing between Sutton Smith and Blake Watson. Now Sutton Smith also kind of used him a couple of times out of the, in different slots and slot receiver and out of the backfield to catch passes. But do you feel like Blake Watson has separated himself as the number 1 running back?
I don't. You see those numbers and you think he did, but just talking to the coaches, that is not the case. They say that Blake and Sutton Smith, 1-2, 2-1, whichever way you want to look at it, but they're also very confident in Jay Ducker getting in the game, and we saw a taste of Jay Ducker last week. He missed game 1, but we saw him at Arkansas State. But no, it was interesting to see him at 20 totes compared to 5 for Sutton Smith. But Brian, you're right on. They'll line Sutton Smith up as a slot receiver. They'll move him out of the backfield. They'll get him in motion. They'll give him little swing passes or bubble screens. So Sutton Smith's a heck of an athlete. He needs to be on the field. They know he needs to be on the field. But Blake Watson has hit the ground running since his arrival in Memphis. But I think overall, I want to see this. Now, it's tough to run against Navy. Navy annually has one of the best run defenses in the country. So I don't expect Memphis to explode with the running game. So I'll have to wait and see before making any judgment when they play an SEC school, Missouri, the following week to see if they can really get that running game going. I expect them tomorrow to be able to throw the ball. I think that's the game plan. Whether it's going to be intermediate passes or deep passes depends on what Navy shows them. But as far as the running game is concerned, and those two guys, I still think it's both those two as 1A, 1B, and then certainly the confidence in Jay Ducker when he gets into the game.
Our guest, Greg Gaston, the very familiar voice that you can hear every morning right here with Eli Savoy from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. He usually joins us on Thursday. He was so kind to accommodate us today because tomorrow night in my best Donald Sutherland voice, it's his job. He'll be working tomorrow night. I got in the Animal House line, Greg. You knew I would for you. He'll be working tomorrow night.
That's a good – well, you and I – Brian, there's no way Brian knows that reference.
No, I know Animal House. I mean, come on, give me some credit.
Do you know
Donald Sutherland and Katie.
I'm proud of you, my friend. I am really proud. Yeah, Brian does have a little bit of an old soul. So I always say that to J-Mo as well. He's kind of got a little bit of an old soul. I need Zach. I need my producer to get a little bit of an old soul. Watch some of these old movies and some of these older songs from back when we were young, right, Brett?
Yeah, that's right. Greg, on the Tiger Sideline, he's brought to you every week by the law offices of Stephen Leffler, Neil's Bar and Grill, Mount Moriah Auto Sales, and Chet Whitsett, your Cry-Like Realtor. And we love having you on, Greg, and that insight from being in those meetings today. And that's really illustrative of what happens in those meetings and in that preparation time. And Greg, I know of coaches and staffs in spring. They'll run in spring and in August. They'll run in during periods and in practice time, maybe a look of, looking down the schedule and line up the scout team in a certain formation. And they don't tell them who it is because they don't want kind of in their head, we're already preparing for fill in the blank. You run the triple option, you know who you're getting ready for.
You know who you're getting ready for. And here's the thing that I think Memphis has the advantage is because they have now played in this game tomorrow night, Brett, will be 9 straight years of playing Navy. So Navy is always on the Tigers' schedule for whatever reason. There are other teams in the American Conference, they don't play every year. They play Navy seemingly every year. I'm not sure if that's 9 years since the American came into existence, but this will be the 9th straight game that they played Navy. So there is some familiarity when you played a team that much, even though they're so unique. It would be a tougher and a taller task for a school out there that had Navy on the schedule for the first time in, let's say, 10 years or never played them before, because they would not be familiar with what they do. Memphis knows what they have to do to win this game. Now, saying it, knowing it, and actually doing it are two different things, but they've had a lot of success here recently. They lead the all-time series. So, again, I feel very confident. The game changer, and look, you could say this about probably any game in the great sport of football, is turnovers. But really, in a game like Navy, when you play Navy. And I'll give you a perfect example. You are going to be limited on the possessions you get because Navy's going to move the ball. You want to prevent them from scoring down in the red zone, holding the field goals, things of that nature. But more than likely, unless they're turning it over, and they're very disciplined, you're going to not have the possession time and the amount of possessions that you would normally get in a game. So you have to take advantage of it. But let's say you go out there and, like you said, Brett, you punt the ball. You win the toss. You take the ball. Memphis wants to score right away and send a message. They punt on the first one. Then it's a 9-minute drive for Navy to get a field goal. And then Memphis fumbles the ball. And then Navy's able to cash it in for 7. And all of a sudden, you're getting a limited. So that's how Memphis could lose the football game. And that's certainly a possibility. But there are 16 points.
It's almost hypnotic. It's almost they almost put you in a hypnotic state. It's like playing the old Four Corners basketball teams.
Oh, wow. Yeah, good reference. It could be hypnotic, but it could also be incredibly frustrating, especially for offensive players who are on the sideline going, please get the ball back. I want to go back out there. I fumbled the ball in the first possession, or I wasn't even involved in that first series. I want it. And so now you're getting a little anxious, and that's not good. You want to go out there. You want to set the tone early. You want to score. You want to have Navy play catch up. And when Navy is behind, it's extremely hard for them, as I said earlier, to come back because they don't have that firepower. At least not on the football field. They do on the ships, not on the football field.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. And naval aviators, they can bring airplanes at you, too.
That's right. Absolutely. and again, for people, and I was talking about this today on our show, Sports 56 Mornings, is for those who have not seen the Navy, Army, Air Force, any of the armed service academies, go to the game if you can, because it's just everything that coincides with the actual game. The pomp and circumstance, there's nothing like it. Experience at least one time.
I agree with you on that. Definitely on my bucket list for sure. I'm curious, Greg, I know we mentioned Anthony Lanphier last week when you joined our show, but you saw him get more involved this past weekend against Arkansas State, 27 yards on 4 catches. After seeing him in 2 weeks, how much do you think they'll kind of look to him in this offense, especially when we kind of get into conference play?
They're very confident in him. And after game 1, we saw him catch a 2-point conversion, but he really didn't do much, and they didn't have too many targets towards him. I'm wondering, talk is cheap. They lost Prescorn, and you know what I think about Prescorn.
Absolutely.
And then I wondered about Lanphier. Well, he made his presence felt against the Red Wolves. He's got really good hands. He catches the ball when he was targeted. I think he was only targeted 4 times. He made the 4 catches. So now that's got to feel good as an offensive coordinator like Tim Cramsey, to include him more in the actual play calling. It has to feel good for Seth Hennigan, knowing that he has that go-to tight end that he had in previous years with Caden Prescorn. So that's a big statement, I think, for Lanphier with what he did last weekend in Jonesboro. And I think moving forward, they're going to have a lot of confidence to be able to throw the ball to him.
A tradition unlike any other. You're going to have the voice of the Naval Academy, Pete Medhurst, on with y'all in the morning?
He was on yesterday or today. I'm getting all the.
I missed it.
He was on. Yeah, he was on yesterday. Yeah, Pete was on yesterday. And what was interesting about what Pete had to say is that because I was asking him about the new coach, Brian Newberry, and I said, look, when it comes down,
I'm sorry, I missed Greg.
That's there's the old podcast, Brad. You could always
good point.
Go to sportsmemphis.com. Sports 56 Mornings, hour number 1. Now.
Apple Podcasts, you got it covered.
Yeah, you could still listen. But he was saying, I was asking about Brian Newberry, and I said, will there be wrinkles of things that he'll do a little different than Ken Niumatalolo did? And look, bottom line is this. They're a triple option offense. We know what they're going to do. They're never going to really change their stripes. However, what we're going to see, both offensively and defensively, are different looks. So offensively, you're going to see a lot of movement and things of that nature to try to disguise things. And on defense, you're absolutely going to see a lot of window dressing. You're going to see a lot of times where you'll see 8 in the box, and then they'll drop back 5 of those 8, and they'll only rush 3. Sometimes they'll come in. So what they try to do is Navy, with their game planning, is have you guessing and have you off balance. Because, again, we know in the bottom line is that they are a triple option offense, but even within the triple option offense, there are variations of things that you can do. That's what they try to do. Catch you off guard, catch you by surprise, get the big one, flip the ball outside to a guy who gets the edge and goes 70 yards for a touchdown. They're not beating you with 75-yard bombs.
That's true. Greg, I'm curious. I know Laird Veach Monday night on the Ryan Silverfield radio show talked a little bit about the planned renovations of Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. That's kind of been a big discussion in the city these past couple of days about what's going to happen, who gets the money. I know he was on with y'all Tuesday morning to talk. What did he say about this decision coming up of the money that's being allotted by the state?
I'm glad you threw that in there. I was a little worried, Brian, that you didn't know that we actually had Larry.
Yeah. No, I know.
I heard that, Greg. I listened to Laird on with y'all. I'm sorry I missed Pete.
Cross promotion, yeah, Brett. I can't thank you enough for as much as you're up early to listen. Look, it's tough for guys. I know it's tough to get up that early to listen, but we do have that segment of the listening audience that's up early for work, and we do appreciate people listening in the morning. We appreciate people listening, of course, during this time slot as well. But, yeah, look, he echoed pretty much what he was saying on Monday, that they are getting close to I don't want to say it's a drop-dead time, but it is if there's not going to be any delays in construction. Look, something is going to happen. There is going to be renovations to Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. How much money they'll have from the state allocated money, we don't know yet. How much money will they have to raise? Will it be like the renderings we saw, or are they going to have to scale back? These are all questions that still have to be answered. But again, until they can get the final word from the city through that state money, which basically is once the Grizzlies have decided what they want to do and have talked to the city officials, we could possibly have, and they weren't talking delay until the last few days, that if we don't hear by the end of October, it could be a little bit of a delay for the start of the construction, which is planned right after right after the AutoZone Liberty Bowl game at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. Now, they don't believe that that's going to happen. We feel that from everything that we've heard, that there'll probably be some sort of decision by the Grizzlies in the next couple of weeks, and we'll know. But as far as how much money is going to go to that project, that's still anybody's guess. So I think there's not total concern from the university standpoint, but there is a little bit of concern from the fan base out there, and it's gotten contentious between Tiger fans, Grizzlies fans on social media. It's kind of got a little bit nutty, but I think in the end, we're going to have a beautiful renovated FedEx Forum. We're going to have a beautiful renovated Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. I'm pretty confident that once they get through all the red tape and everything, that's going to happen. But again, how much money exactly the University of Memphis is going to have to raise and pitch in, I have no idea right now.
Greg, I know all parties are looking out for themselves in this. Grizzlies, Tigers fans, I understand that. There's not enough of us in this area to fight among ourselves. We've got to be unified.
There's no question about it. I don't understand where this has come from, because for the most part, I think fans are fans of both. Now, there's a lot of transplanted people that have come to Memphis and maybe they haven't connected.
Now, unity doesn't mean one side running over the other one either.
Exactly. Yeah, and I'm going to get to that point here from the Grizzlies standpoint. But, yeah, I think, look, you have people that are transplanted to the city and may not really have that connection with the university, and I understand, but they do have a connection with the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies have to do what's right for them. I don't think that they have any type of animosity toward the university. In fact, I think they are trying to do what's best for them first, but then certainly would love to be able to be there and help out as much as they can the university and the city itself. I don't think people will say I'm wrong, that they're greedy. I don't necessarily think that's the truth. I think they're just trying to get what they think is necessary to do proper renovations, so they won't be looking 3 years down the road and saying we have to do more and we have to get more money. They're trying to get it done now. They're not asking for a new arena, which, of course, they could if they wanted to. And I know there's people arguing.
And Oklahoma City's getting one.
they're getting one, and $50 million is coming from ownership. I don't know. I can't speak for Robert Pera. I've seen the guy like twice. So I don't know if he's going to chip in. He doesn't have to. He doesn't. That's his prerogative. He may very much do so. But I think the Grizzlies right now are like, hey, we got to take care of us, and then we'll see what happens. Now, the university is unfortunately at the mercy of the Grizzlies because they are a tenant of FedEx Forum and a tenant of Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. They don't have their own stadium. Neither one is there.
Yeah.
And that's bad, when it comes down to it as far as being able
but
to
primary
control your own
tenant
destiny.
of one and a really big factor in the other one and been here for a long, long time.
There's no question. But, I guess you look at it and go, well, they're not going anywhere. But as we've heard with realignment, and it doesn't mean a renovated arena, a renovated football stadium means you're going to a big Power 5 conference.
Right.
But it does not hurt. And if you don't do those things, then all it's going to do is get older and older. Those facilities, specifically the football stadium, will get older and then eventually dilapidated. And so there can be some bad things that happen if you don't put that money in. I don't think that's going to happen because, again, the money was allocated to these two major projects along with two smaller projects, including the soccer stadium. I don't know if that's going to happen, but we know what the money was allocated for. I had people today on my show arguing the whole Nashville football stadium, the Dome Stadium, the $2 billion stadium, and where that money's coming from. Look, you can't compare apples to oranges, and that's what you're doing.
Right.
The city asked for $350 million of state money to be allocated toward the stadiums. That's what they got. They got that money. Now, that's what they asked for. What Nashville asked for, I don't know, but I can tell you this. A bunch of the money's coming from the actual city itself through taxes, and then from the ownership group itself as well. Nearly $800,000 or $900,000 of the $2 billion. So, look, there's a lot that goes into this thing. There's a lot of bickering, but getting back to your point, Brett, can't we just all get along? I think in the end, as sports fans, you're going to be happy with both entities, and I think both the tenants, the Grizzlies, the Tigers at FedEx Forum, the Tigers, the Autos and Liberty Bowl, the Southern Heritage Classic at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium will be extremely happy with what ends up happening in the end. I do believe so.
Yeah, I hope you're right, but like you said, it's social media. It's starting to get a little ugly between Grizzly fans and Tigers fans. But Greg, thanks so much for joining us today, and enjoy the game tomorrow night.
Thank you, guys. Take care of yourselves.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you, Greg.
Greg Gaston.
Greg Gaston. Yeah, I'm sorry, Brian.
You're
We were both thinking the same thing. Greg Gaston with us every Thursday afternoon. This week he joins us on Wednesday, and a big game tomorrow night. And that contentiousness, it's going to have to abate, and at some point, calmer heads step in. I was told there is a document, and I would think this would be freedom of information, public records, sunshine laws. I think this would be available. There is a document out there that spells out exactly how the money is supposed to be apportioned, and the Tigers are supposed to get more than their fair share.
Really?
We need to stay after that. This hour of our show brought to you every day by the great people at Hewlett and Dunn, Boot and Jean on the historic square in Collierville. They've been there since 1961. They're ready for tomorrow night. They're ready for the weekend. They're ready for the games in all the area this weekend. Tennessee fans getting ready to go off to the Swamp. Start there with the Tennessee gear that they have. Razorback fans, Ole Miss fans, Mississippi State fans, and tomorrow night for the Tigers. Charles Hall, he started working there in his teens, and now with his wife, Laura, they own the place, known for all the boots, but also so much more. Clothing, accessories, and I mentioned a cap for any team for any season. Western wear, work boots, safety toe or soft toe boots, rubber boots. Hope we don't need those this weekend at any of the tailgates, but you will before the year's over. Boots for every occasion at Hewlett and Dunn. From head to toe, they got you covered with every brand imaginable. Dan Post, Anderson Bean, Ariat, whether for men or for women, and they have the clothing for men and women. Jeans, pants, shirts, shorts, outerwear, and the best duck head collection you'll find. Charles and Laura Hall, they invite you to 111 North Center Street. I think we're having Charles join us Friday afternoon live with us. They want you to come out and visit them, though, at 111 North Center Street, or go to hewlettdunn.com on the square in Collierville. sunglasses, hats, boot care products, and every area team snapback cool hat you can think of. State, Tigers, Ole Miss, Tennessee, the Razorbacks, and for travel, the bag selection, it's top-notch. HewlettandDunn.com, but please visit and say hello at 111 North Center Street on the square in Collierville at Hewlett & Dunn.
Let's get to a break. When we come back, we'll talk about what's trending.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows, stay up to date with station events, and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
We interrupt this broadcast for special news and information concerning family leisure.
The world's biggest spa sale is back and bigger than ever at Family Leisure. How is that possible? Well, let me tell you. You start off with 50 different spa models to choose from 5 different manufacturers. Then you throw in up to 30% off in-stock spas and swim spas. But is that all? Oh, no. You get free upgrades on all in-stock spas, plus 24 months, same as cash. Wow! This is the kind of sale that you just can't have every day. But it's happening right now at Family Leisure, the world's biggest spa sale. Soak in the savings right now at Family Leisure, Witten Road and I-40. You know the place where family and fun come together.
Please remain calm and walk, don't run to Family Leisure. And now back to your regular programming.
Hi, this is Lauren Choate with Choate's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Plumbing. Choate's is offering some amazing specials for this month only. If you're considering upgrading your furnace before the cold weather comes, Choate's is offering $1,000 off a new Carrier furnace. If you don't need a new furnace, Choate's is now offering its early bird $60 furnace tune-up. This 22-point tune-up includes a free carbon monoxide test and heat exchanger inspection. And Choate's is your indoor air quality expert. For the best quality air for you and your family, it's recommended to have your air ducts cleaned every 8 years. This month only, Choate's will install a free UV light system when you get your air ducts cleaned, a $500 value. Call us at 347-8086 to take advantage of these amazing deals. So, turn to the experts with Choate's, and remember, let our family serve your family.
Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis in Olive Branch has an offer you can't refuse. They will pay you to do business with them if you want luxury. And I'm talking the Genesis G70 car. If you would love to have that kind of new technology, they will give you a $1,000 rebate when you finance with Genesis Motor Finance. In other words, they'll pay you $1,000 to do business with them, and you get brand new luxury. You can't beat it. That's Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis, right at the corner of Craft Road and Highway 78 in Olive Branch. Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis in Olive Branch, where customer retention is amazing. There's a reason. They take care of you with a team that's been together for a long time. Whether it's finance or whether it's service, you can't beat them. Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis.
Chris Price here with Metro Builders. Is your roof leaking? Do you have mold stains on the ceiling of your home or business? Is your carrier denying your claim or offering a repair because they just don't have enough documentation? You need a contractor that performs work for insurance carriers each and every day, and Metro Builders is here to assist. This is why you call Metro Builders. At Metro Builders, we provide free estimates and consultation and love to assist homeowners with their claims. Metro Builders' process of arriving, inspecting, and diagnosing problems is second to none. Our team of Hague-certified technicians are standing by to assist you with providing estimates and photos to your carrier to document your loss. And the best part of all you owe is what your policy states. No large fees on top of the final scope. We use high-grade materials and are certified by companies like Atlas, CertainTeed, Owens Corning, and even Mulehide. We offer best-in-class warranties on all of our jobs, up to 50 years. When it comes to roofs and restoration, call Metro Builders to schedule your free inspection. Call me. 901-375-1717. That's 901-375-1717.
Looking for your next car? Give Car Corner a try. Car Corner, located at 2653 Mount Moriah. They specialize in cars under $15,000. Bad credit? No problem at Car Corner. CarCornerMemphis.com. That's CarCornerMemphis.com. They even have cash cars under $7,000. That's Car Corner at 2653 Mount Moriah. CarCornerMemphis.com. Look for the building with the teal green roof.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Hewlett & Dunn, Boot and Jean Company in Collierville. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you. We got about 30 minutes left in today's show, and we're sitting in our family leisure studios. And, Brett, we just talked to Greg Gaston about a lot of Tigers, obviously, with their game tomorrow. But we ended the conversation talking about this discussion and this back and forth between the Tigers and the Grizzlies, the city of Memphis, and this money that's coming in from the state of Tennessee, how it will be used, who gets the most of it, who I'm sure after it happens we'll get the winners and losers from the money and how it was spent. But I'm curious for you because I thought Greg had a lot of good insight. Obviously, they had Laird Veach on their show earlier this week. But when it comes to this decision that we should get in October, it's going to be huge. And one thing that Greg did say that I kind of it bothered me a little bit is the fact that he said, and I can't remember if he said Laird Veach said it or if he had heard it from somewhere else, that there could be a delay in this decision and a delay in terms of starting the renovation process for Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. And when we've been talking about these renovations, we've talked about this, it's going to be a multi-year process. You're going to do one side one offseason, the other side the next offseason. We cannot have any delays when it comes to these renovations.
No, we need wrecking ball and hard hats out there, boots on the ground, January 2nd, first business day of 2024 after the Liberty Bowl game gets completed. And you're right about the October decision. That's coming up really soon. It's playing time. It's check writing time. It's more than artist rendering time. It's really, get down to it, brass tacks, heavy construction time, bidding out, getting ready to have them assembled, ready to move in for first business day of 2024. I don't think this is the time for anybody. Now, he's not unassailable. He's not, we have to, kiss the ring, but I don't think this is a time for invective at anyone, even government, even the governor, but certainly not at Robert Parra. I don't think that would prove anything because he is of the ways and means.
Yes.
That if provoked, okay, I'll show you. Yeah, I can build my own everything.
Yep.
He can go full. He can go full owner of the Rams. Name's escaping me.
Oh, and then the name's escaping me too.
Stan Kroenke.
Kroenke, yes, correct. Yeah,
he can go full Stan Kroenke and underwrite everything in conceivably next town. We don't want to lose the Grizzlies. I don't think it's going to happen. We know pretty certain. Hardcore contractually bound through 29 or 30. I think that would be almost impossible. But again, he is of a lot of zeros and a lot of commas that he could say, yeah, okay, I'll show you. I don't think we're to that point. I don't think we should be at that. And I think I'm an example of it. There's a lot of people in this area. Are the Tigers, University of Memphis, their school, their first team? Yep. No. But a lot of appreciation for them, a lot of care for them, a lot of good times with them and wanting them to do well. And it's a lot of people that have Ole Miss gear on in Mississippi State and Tennessee and not as much Arkansas through the years have been kind of dual fans. I was a little bit of the outlier there, and I've told you how well that went over with a lot of people. But some more kind of Far City was kind of the demarcation for it because we were really all Memphis TV and mostly Memphis TV and Memphis sports through the formative years.
Sure.
Now, when you get past, you get past Palestine, you get past for sure, you get to Lonoke. It's none. But plenty of Northwest Mississippi, DeSoto County, and Marshall County, and even a basketball time into Lafayette County, with people there pulling for Tiger basketball, and for sure outside of Shelby County. So there are plenty of people that live in this area and want it to do well and want the Tigers to be, really sustainable into the future.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and so I think it's huge for the Tigers to get this money. I know a lot of people have talked about you need it for conference expansion. If another conference expands or what happens, you need a better stadium, and so I agree with that. But also when it comes to the Grizzlies, I mean, when you look, you mentioned this to Greg earlier, when you look over, really just a couple states over to Oklahoma, and what the Oklahoma City owner is doing with their renovations, putting up money so that they can guarantee that they can do this and make it as best as possible. You mentioned that we could just pick it up. Parrot could just pick up and move somewhere else. So I don't think you want to be too forceful with it. But, I think you at least have to try and make an attempt to get him to put up some money, especially when you're seeing other franchises, especially a franchise like Oklahoma City, that we've kind of seen the same rise and fall and re-rise of these two franchises. When you look at these two, I remember the Grizzlies and the Oklahoma City Thunder going back and forth when we had the Big Four and they had Kevin Durant and Russ, and then both teams kind of struggled there for a couple of years.
That's when we hated them.
That's right. That's when we hated them. And then both teams kind of struggled for a little bit after they made their trades. The Grizzlies retooled a little bit. And now with Ja and the Grizzlies and all those other guys with the Grizzlies and what OKC is doing with their young group of guys, both of these are two franchises that are certainly on the rise, and to see another franchise like that doing pretty much the same thing you're doing and have their owner so out front in it, I think you would hope to have the same thing for the Grizzlies.
I haven't hit the Google machine on this, so I may be making a statement that is way off. I want you to do it for me. Mm-hmm. Put in, just hit Robert Pera net worth, Clay Bennett net worth, and let's see. I think Robert Pera could buy him twice by noon tomorrow.
Let's see. Robert Pera, $8.3 billion is what I'm seeing.
Okay, that's pretty strong.
It's pretty strong.
And that doesn't touch if he pushed every chip to the table, but whatever.
Right.
We'll go $8 billion.
So $8 billion for him. Clay Bennett, $400 million.
Oh, he's got to be worth more than that. He can't be in that club.
Yeah, it can't be. But that's the first thing I saw. I'm seeing $400 million. I'm sure these might be old. The 2023. I'm seeing a lot. I'm seeing multiple. There have been times I've looked up net worths and one have been wrong, and then I finally find the other one. I'm seeing multiple on here. $400 million.
By lunch, he buys him before our show ends today.
Easily. I'm shocked to see that. I don't know if I necessarily believe it.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm trusting the Google machine on that.
Google might be wrong on that one.
Rarely wrong.
I don't know. Is there multiple Clay Bennett's? I don't know.
Clay Bennett, OU fan, Oklahoma City, and wow.
I don't know.
Oil and gas.
Yeah.
He's not in that club for that.
No. I don't know. I have no idea, but it's what the Google says.
I can't be in the best country club in Oklahoma City for that. I can't.
Look, Brett, I can't argue with Google, so I don't. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not going to argue with Google.
No, I don't know what to tell you.
Huh. I didn't know it was that. I swear that setup. I had no clue that was going to be the numbers you ripped off to me.
Yeah, that's incredible. So you're right. If he's putting up some money, hey, Robert Pera.
Man, if true, man, poor old Clay Bennett, almost a pauper.
Good Lord. I guess he's hoping it all pays off for him.
He's got players worth more than him.
Sure does, but
couple.
Yeah, but Greg
KD, former player, maybe.
Oh, geez, easily. But Greg mentioned it when we talked to him in the last segment. I mentioned it at the beginning of the show. And you mentioned it too. This back and forth we have right now. I don't know what exactly sparked it. If it was what Laird Veach said earlier this week, or if it was something else.
It's exhausting too.
It really is. It was all over my feed this morning and last night too.
I just hate seeing what's being said.
Yeah, it's it's people that you've seen that are fans, and I get it, and they're excited about their team. I'm excited about what's happening, but they're just turning against each other. And like you said earlier, Memphis we're too much of a close knit city to be going back.
There's
and
not
forth
enough
about
of us to
this.
fight
There's
among
not.
each other.
There's not, and to be
there's just not.
Yeah, and to be going back.
It's kind of what
forth.
I've always said about the sports talk radio pie. I just think there's enough there for everybody.
Well,
I'm not that interested with fighting about it, and I just don't think around town with all the interest involved. Let's don't do this. No. I think that would be a dangerous path.
No, and for what the Grizzlies and the Tigers mean to so many people, it would be one thing if the state of Mississippi said, all right, we're going to give money to Ole Miss and Mississippi State. Y'all have to decide. We're going to have votes on who gets what of the share. Now, that'd be different.
There are people who think that actually have happened.
I'm sure. I'm sure. But that would be different. Those two fan bases would be going at each other's throat over that money. But for the city of Memphis, a professional team and a college team, those two teams mean so much to so many people, and it's the same people that went to school at Memphis or grew up a Memphis fan, and now since the Grizzlies have moved here, they've become Grizzlies fans, and they love watching the Grizzlies and love watching the Tigers. And so it just seems like we should all be together on this, and it seems like it's just tearing so many people apart, and so many people are at each other's throats.
Yeah, it may be best that decision time is near. Fall is happening, and it's happening at Olive Branch at All-Star Chevrolet. Not only can you get a new 23 Silverado this week, tomorrow, you can get financing as low as 0 interest and 3 months with no payments. Your good credit deserves this, and you can get it at All-Star. Come drive a Silverado or one of the new Traverse. See Kevin or Jeff if you want to do a custom order. If you're a first responder, educator, healthcare professional, military, recent college grad, late September is your month for bonus cash and more at All-Star Chevrolet. See Kevin or Jeff. They asked me to thank all of you who brought your cars, your trucks, your SUVs to All-Star to sell. Highway 78, first exit, Kraft Goodman Road. All-Star paying great cash right now, and you can get your check immediately, even if you still owe money against your vehicle. All-Star certified and pre-owned section. It's loaded. Lots of Silverados, Ram trucks, a Denali, an F-150, great-looking Mercedes, all right there at All-Star. If you need service or maintenance, call Sean or Jeff in the All-Star Chevy Service Department. They will have you out of there before you can go inside and visit with everybody in the showroom. Remember, it's not the Pike, it's not South Haven, not Bartlett, Mount Moriah, or Collierville. It's got to be Olive Branch. Find new roads today to All-Star Chevy or go to allstarautogroup.com.
Let's get to our final break of the day. When we come back, we'll wrap up today's show with Taco Bell Crunch Time.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to Real Sports Talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Memphis football is at home Thursday, September 14th at 6:30 as they face off against Navy for Military Appreciation Game. Enjoy the interactive military equipment set up on Tiger Lane, skydivers during the national anthem, and much more. Tickets start at just $20 to witness the 901's football team in action. Be there Thursday, September 14th, and show a nationally televised audience what Memphis football is all about. Purchase your tickets today at GoTigersGoTix.com.
Your equipment search ends here. Now that's a bold statement, but at Purple Wave Auction, it's true. See for yourself at purplewave.com. Purple Wave is your online marketplace for ag and construction equipment, utility vehicles, trucks and trailers, and yes, even a classic car or two. Bidding is straightforward and simple. No reserves, no minimum bids. Ready to get started? Head to purplewave.com. Purple Wave Auction. Straight, simple, sold.
Jenkins Floors and More in Hernando is growing. This family business started up 5 years ago with just one pallet, and now they have hundreds. Tim, the owner, gets calls from people everywhere and can sometimes save them up to 50% on wood flooring, carpet, tile, and vinyl. Jenkins Floors and More helps with renovations, home building, and installation. Jenkins Floors and More, number 6 East Commerce Street in Hernando. Also in Little Rock and coming soon to Tennessee. Call 662-469-9350 for more information.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
AutoZone is more than a parts store. It's where we help you solve problems like, sorry I'm late, my battery died. And
I need a jump again.
At America's #1 battery destination, you can find the right battery at the right price with options starting at only $89.99. And we offer free battery testing and charging whenever you need it. Get the parts and help you need to get the job done right at AutoZone.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Everyone agrees that 117 Prime is Memphis's premier downtown dining experience. But what if you could go one step further and have 117 Prime at home? As hard as it is to believe, 117 Prime, which features some of the best food in Memphis, is available for curbside or takeout. Imagine just swinging by Prime and picking up not just something good, but something great. 117 Prime makes the best steaks in Memphis, and you could eat it in your living room. The best food in Memphis, enjoy the way you really want to. Pantsless.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Jean Company in Collierville. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is for all the biggest crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that? Goodbye! Hello, Haskins.
It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin, this baby is over.
The Double Steak Grilled Cheese Burrito, so good. Double the steak with nacho cheese sauce, seasoned rice, red strips, sour cream, and the 3-cheese blend wrapped inside a warm flour tortilla, with even more 3-cheese blend grilled on the top. The Double Steak Grilled Cheese Burrito, it hits the spot now at Taco Bell. And at Taco Bell, when they say they are feeding people's lives with unexpected good, they mean it. Bowl food you can't get anywhere else.
Well, Brett, I have learned a lot today. I've learned a lot since we started the show, like Matt Berry and Dan Mullen, who are going to be calling the game tomorrow night on ESPN. They're in town already, obviously, getting ready for tomorrow night's game. And they toured the indoor facilities at Memphis. And while they were going around, Matt Berry, of course, being the journalist, reporter he is, he was asking Dan Mullen a lot about how you set up your indoor facility, why you do certain things that he noticed inside the Memphis football program's indoor facility. And Dan Mullen was saying a lot of things of, this is why they do this. I love that they're doing this. I love that they're doing that. Then he went on to say that he thinks for a fact that Memphis has the best indoor facilities of any group of 5 school, and he said that the indoor facilities, what he has seen today, is better than some Power 5 teams in the facilities that they have. So Dan Mullen seems to be pretty high on what the Tigers are doing with their indoor facility. Now, I guess let's get a stadium upgrade, hopefully, in this next couple of years or so. The other thing I learned, Adam Wainwright, who got 199 last night, it was announced, I guess, earlier today that during the final week of the season, the second to last game, I'm guessing after the game, Adam Wainwright is going to put on a concert for all the fans at the Cardinals games. As we know, he sings in his spare time. He's singing. He'll be singing. So he's going to do a full concert of his songs, and he's going to go out not only pitching, he's going to go out singing.
So those two things you learned today, you know I love Adam Wainwright. What are you trying to get me to like Dan Mullen?
Well, you know, I just try. I see where I can get in and see what I can do.
I do love Matt Berry. I learned today the whole turf or grass debate around the NFL. If anybody can afford to put in natural grass, to quote the great Warren Sapp, if you can't roll it up and smoke it, you don't need to be playing on it. You sure don't outside. Inside, I can see why, but outside, go full Augusta National. Sub-Air, have the finest playing surfaces money can pay for, because I don't know if that contributed to Aaron Rodgers, but I know it doesn't help. And I know the NFL can afford natural grass.
What's interesting,
anywhere, even in New York City.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because this argument comes up every single year. And when Lionel Messi came over to play for Inter Miami, that was a big conversation because there were people saying that he would not play on artificial turf, and there were some MLS teams that were putting in grass at their stadiums just so Lionel Messi would play at their stadiums. And so for the NFL, and we know what great business they do, they can definitely put in artificial grass at all of their stadiums. What I could have done without, I mentioned it earlier when we were talking baseball, but Max Scherzer is expected to miss the rest of the regular season. He's unlikely for the postseason, but there's that sliver of chance for him. And for Max Scherzer, I mean, he's dealt with injuries the past couple of seasons. But another, I mean, we've talked a lot about Aaron Rodgers. To see some of these older pitchers that are great pitchers just not being able to get the job done because of injuries, it's really hard to watch.
Yeah, not getting to the most important time of the year. Could have done without this, and I take my tone to a very serious one. If any of this surrounding Kevin Porter is true, he's played his last game in the NBA.
Yes.
I don't need to hear anything about any second chance. First of all, where's the WNBA? Where's Me Too?
Yeah.
Where's some of these victim groups? They need to speak up.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, those reports were absolutely awful when I saw them. I guess they came out yesterday afternoon, as I guess when I saw the first ones. Absolutely horrific to read those. And you're right. If they are true, if even an ounce of them are true, I believe he should have played his last game, and I'll be very disappointed in any team if they go out and sign them. Where are you beaming tonight?
Beam me to Milwaukee. Marlins at Milwaukee. Milwaukee will be in the postseason. The Marlins may be in Skip Schumacher's first year as skipper of the Marlins. Marlins moving on from whatever that was with Derek Jeter running the team, and really, frankly, whatever that was with Don Mattingly managing the team. They have made progress this year in South FLA, and I love Skip Schumacher. And I promise you, Brian, you think I'm kidding. I really did tell him one time, Skip, you're going to be a great skip someday.
Oh, I
And
believe
he has
it.
been in first year.
He has. He really has been. I think I'm going to beam up to New York to watch the D-backs and the Mets tonight. I know maybe a lot of people questioning why would you pick that game, but I'm really interested to watch Zach Gallen pitch. He's been really, really good this season, and there's some people that are saying he still has an opportunity to win Cy Young. And when you look at it, I saw somebody in the Cardinals, I think a beat writer for the Cardinals, point out that if Zach Gallen has a strong finish to the season and he could win Cy Young, let's not forget Zach Gallen was in that trade, and that would mean 2 Cy Young pitchers in the same trade. In back-to-back years, they've been Cy Youngs, with Sandy winning it last year. So I'm intrigued to see what he does tonight, but not a lot of baseball games tonight with a handful of games during the day.
Yeah, busy afternoon slate. Mariners 3-2 winners, Giants 6-5 winners, and Rockies 7-3 over the Cubs. Rays 5-4 winners. So some good games this afternoon. Braves at Phillies underway. Texas at Toronto. You mentioned Arizona at the Mets. Just like we all thought in April that Arizona would be in postseason mix and not the Mets. We all had that right, and we're building down to the big one tomorrow night, the first big test of the year for the Memphis Tigers against the Navy.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you mentioned the Braves game. Keep an eye on Spencer Strider on the mound tonight. The game just started. They're just in the bottom of the first inning, so no strikeouts yet recorded. But he is only, about 8 shy of that record through the first 50 starts, 150 starts, however many it is, for most strikeouts. So keep an eye on that. Like I said, just started. No strikeouts yet, but I'm sure he'll have a handful throughout tonight's game. But that is all the time we have. Keep an eye on these baseball games tonight, and tomorrow we'll be talking a lot of Tiger football as they get set to host Navy on ESPN tomorrow night. But who cares what channel they play on, because everybody's going to be at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium cheering them on to victory. But that's all the time we have. Enjoy your night. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.